All right, what's up, you heathens and demons, you sinners and saints, you beautiful, blasphemous bastards. As you can see, my guest isn't here. It's probably my fault. Maybe something came up. We have been talking this morning, but it's been a kind of a hectic morning for me. I slept a little late, I guess. I'm working full time. I'm closing again a lot. I closed last night. When I close, I can't go to bed when I get home. So I was up to like 4 a.m, editing videos and watching reaction videos on YouTube. I love watching reaction videos to like controversial songs. So I was up to 4 a.m. doing that. And then, so I woke up at 10. Found out this morning that she agreed to noon, and sent her the link a few minutes ago, and she's not here yet. So we'll give her a few moments to show up. I'm hoping she does. It should be a really interesting conversation. I've only talked to her once before. She seems like an intriguing Christian, and I think that this could be an interesting conversation. But things do come up, and maybe it's just not meant to be today, so I'll give her a few minutes. I sent the link again. If she doesn't show up, might have got time zones wrong, something along those lines. I'll reschedule this conversation. Tonight, I'm going to have a conversation with Praise. Hopefully, I'm going to shoot him an email, and hopefully that's still on, because as far as I know, it is. But as I said last night in my stream, I was on a Praise stream a couple nights ago now, and I might have got him in trouble with Smokey. It might not. He might decide it's not a good idea to come and talk to me now. But I hope that happens. I know Jay was reviewing the beginning of that stream last night, and Praise said a lot of interesting things, and I think we could have a pretty interesting conversation about slavery in the Bible and about Smokey Saint and just what's going on with Praise's channel. Praise gave his 11th or almost 12,000 subscriber channel to Ryan the Presbyterian. It looks like Praise took it back and gave him his smaller channel. So I don't know what's going on over there with that. But hopefully Candace will show and we don't have a cross up on time zones, which does happen with the YouTube thing. What's up, chat? I see Doubting Thomas is here. Marty's here. Maynard Saves. Smoke weed every day. Paul Camish. Kent Hovind CPA. I always wondered, Paul Camish, is it Camish or Camish? I'll have to ask you one day when we're on a stream together. Bond is here, the Divine Sorcerer. So Praise is monetized now on his 11K channel. So that's what he gave it up when it wasn't monetized. It got monetized again. So he snatched it back. He's like, no, Ryan, it's my channel, Ryan. That's my best Cartman impersonation. Not a good one, probably. So yeah, I'm actually thinking something must have came up, which does happen sometimes. Time zones suck. I had thought that she might have been East Coast just because in the stream that I was in, she was complaining about later streams that she's usually in bed. So I was like assuming maybe our time zones were close, but I'm not sure. What's up, Alice the Strange? The second one. So Camish, Paul Camish. Good to know. Good to know. So yeah, we'll give her a few minutes, and if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen today. See, I'm going to be talking to Thick Shades next week. That's going to be interesting. Thick Shades is going to come on the channel. I guess Ryan the Presbyterian is a Smokey Saint acolyte again. That's what I've been hearing, and he got in the comments and said something along the lines like Thick Shades doxes worse than Brett Keane. As far as I know, Brett Keane it's only been the only time I've ever heard about is when he lost his first channel, but I don't know the history of Brett Keane. I don't know the history of Thick Shades. What I do know is that Thick Shades is going against Smokey right now. But Lou is here. So, hey, what's up? You might be muted. Well, you don't look like you're muted, but I'm not hearing you.
Hello, Ronnie.
Hey, what's up? How you doing today?
Going well.
Cool.
And you?
Oh, real good. Still kind of waking up. It was a late night for me last night, so yeah, I'm still waking up.
I'm still. Oh, okay, cool. So I haven't seen the topic. What is the topic about again?
I don't think we ever really came up with one. We had talked a couple days ago. We were having kind of a decent conversation, but there were other people in the room, so it was hard for us to really have a conversation. So I thought that
I want to
first.
show my. I want to show my. Uh, how do you say this in English? Neon.
Yeah.
Neon.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I used to have lights
This
that
is
I used behind
flamingo.
me.
This is palm tree. No. This is coconut tree. This is flamingo. Yeah. So when I sleep, I'm actually sitting on my bed now. So when I sleep, I just turn off the main light, and then yeah, it would be all shiny. Sorry, getting a little off topic. Yeah. Cool.
Oh no, that's pretty neat. So yeah, I thought I just kind of open it up and let you kind of introduce yourself. You can talk about what kind of Christian you are, if you have a YouTube channel, and then I thought, like, if you have any questions for me, we can kind of start with that and just kind of see where the conversation goes.
Yeah, sure, cool. So hello guys, my name is Heaven Rules All. So my real English name is Candace, and so I do have a sort of like a personal YouTube channel, which also goes by the name of Heaven Rules All, but I don't really update my channel as much, and it's actually becoming like really like I have not been updating my personal YouTube channel, but basically I would make videos as I felt the Holy Spirit inspired me to do, and I'm still like I feel like so my channel isn't really about anything like anything relating to theological theories, but mostly it's just about any like videos that I felt the Holy Spirit inspired me to do, like for example, I made a video talking about Jezebel's spirit, and I made a video talking about my personal testimonial in the LDS church, and I also made a video talking about I think I made a video talking about plane crash. No, but I said that one as private. So I think I have a few videos. That's pretty like it was more of a personal content, like between me and God, and so yeah.
I caught a LD. So are you a former Mormon, current Mormon?
Former, yeah.
Former.
So I was a former LDS church member, and not until I joined the LDS church did I realize that this is really something that is like this is not like LDS church people are different from other evangelical church attendees, and a lot of them are very a lot of them are really mind controlled, and they have been like it's really an evil sorry, like today I don't know what I don't know what happened. It's really an evil church that you don't want to associate with, and so
I haven't really covered them too much, but I would probably agree. It's definitely something that I would vehemently stand against, considering the history of the Mormon Church, but also just some of their theological practices of modern day. I have covered a little bit, but so, like, did you have many issues coming out of that? Like, were you surrounded by family members in the Mormon Church that might have kind of held it against you that you were no longer Mormon, going more in a traditional Christian sense?
So I didn't grow up being raised as a Christian, but I like a lot of people from where I'm from, which is Taiwan, is not Christian, and most of the time are not exposed to any kind of Christian influences. But later in life, I did attend an evangelical church, but I had some disagreement with people from my church, and so I strayed away and I joined the LDS church. And that's firstly, like, I feel like a lot of people from where I'm from would want to talk to Mormons because they as missionaries would come here and teach English without charging. And it's really like it's like people from where I'm at will want to talk to them just because they can learn English for free, and it's like making some foreign friends. And so a lot of them do not approach the Mormon missionaries with the understanding that this is a cult. And I feel like one of the reasons I got so attacked in the Mormon church was because when I was in the evangelical church, I did receive, I don't know if you have heard of this, the gift of the Holy Spirit, which means you feel like there's like this like small voice in you, which is like from God to like tell you what to do and what not to do. And not every Christian received that. Not every Christian is is that, like, I guess have the gift of the Holy Spirit. And I feel like if you have the gift of the Holy Spirit and you were to be surrounded by a lot of people that haven't, and are still are practicing false are doing false doctrines and preaching in Jesus' name, but while they actually haven't understood the correct way of evangelizing. Well, first of all, Mormonism isn't even an evangelical church anyway, but then that can really hurt people to the detriment if you have if that could really hurt people that have received the gift of the Holy Spirit. And so, sorry, did I answer your question?
Oh yeah, I think so. And this kind of like leads us maybe into what we were talking about a couple days ago, and there were other people in the room, so we never really got that chance to really have that conversation, because I was explaining that while I did consider myself a real Christian, I had never heard that voice that you're speaking about, that separate voice outside of the one that is my mind, the voice of my mind. But we really couldn't get too far into that discussion because other people were piping in, and I had a limited time because I had a premiere that I had to get to. So that was kind of like what I was trying to explain, but I kind of ran out of time when we were talking. Is that I felt like as a 17-year-old child or teenager, not child still, but growing into a man.
Were you going to church at the time, 17-year-old?
Oh yeah. We went to church pretty regularly, but my dad wouldn't go with us. My dad was he was a staunch evangelical, but he was also a workaholic, so he would end up working most Sundays. So me and my brother, we would go with our stepmom.
What is the word staunchy evangelical?
Oh yeah, Southern Baptist to a core.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Everybody down there was pretty much. I mean, I'm sure that there were probably other denominations down there, but you didn't see them too much. And
wait, down there where? Michigan?
It was. I live in Michigan now, but this was down in North Carolina. We were raised Baptist before we moved to North Carolina here in Michigan, but we became Southern Baptist once we moved down there.
Oh, okay, cool.
They might have a few Southern Baptists up here, but it's not dominant. In fact, the most dominant form of Baptist that we have here now might be the NIFB.
NIFB doesn't equal Southern Baptist. And
No, no. Oh no, yeah, they consider Southern Baptist weak. Yeah, yeah.
oh, okay, okay.
Heretics, basically. Matt Powell did, when I told him I was a Southern Baptist, Matt Powell's reaction was, at least it's a Baptist. So,
Well, at least Baptist is like the normal evangelical Christian. I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
That's how I saw myself, as I was probably fundamental, but at the same time, I've always been open. I wasn't, especially after I hurt my ankle, and kind of sports was taken away from me. I went on this downward spiral to where I definitely wasn't living life as a Christian anymore. I thought that I was a bad Christian. I was a failure to my father, and that I was failing myself and God. And we had kind of had that conversation the last time we spoke. I would sit in bed and pray, make me a better person, make me a better Christian, and ultimately, that never happened, and I ended up in prison.
Wait, so when you said you hurt your ankle, do you mean like literally, or do you?
Yeah. I was a sports star. I started playing football in the 4th grade. Team basketball, probably 6th grade, and then my 11th grade year of high school, I had colleges looking at me. I was pretty good. Came up north. Right in the middle of the basketball season to visit our mom for winter break. We were playing at a place called Full Blast here against what's called Gus Macker guys. And the Gus Macker is a 3-on-3 tournament here in Michigan that, you're an elite level player if you're making it in this tournament. So we were playing against 3 of them, and I came down on my ankle, severed every single ligament down there, and it pretty much ended my sports career.
This was before you commit the crime.
Yes. This was 11th grade year, so I was probably 16 turning 17, and that was what began the downward spiral for me that would lead into some criminality.
So was it because you feel like you couldn't achieve your dream because you hurt your so was it because you hurt your ankle so you wouldn't get drafted, or was it like what? Or
we had an opportunity back then. Tommy John surgery was like brand new. So my dad, we were presented with the opportunity. Hey, we can do this Tommy John surgery, but we're not sure if it'll work. So my dad ultimately decided he wasn't going to spend money on something that might not work. It turns out that's the surgery that you have to fix those kinds of injuries now, and it does work. So, it was pretty much the taking away of my sports career, of my future.
Wait, so because your dad didn't have enough money for the surgery? Was that what you told
No, he had enough money. He just didn't want to waste money on something that might not work.
So it was your dad stopping you to getting that surgical procedure done so that you wouldn't be able to play with Thomas or something? Oh, sorry, I didn't really catch everything.
Well, it was.
Oh, so you wouldn't. Oh, so it was because your dad refused to pay for your surgery so that you wouldn't be able to pursue your career.
Well, I never blame my dad for it. I think my dad made the right decision. I probably would have made the same decision in the circumstance. If I'm not sure that this very expensive procedure, even with health insurance, is going to work, I'm not going to go out of my pocket for something that might not work. This is North Carolina, so we're talking the Bible Belt, very south. A lot of anti-science sentiment even back then. Probably a bit worse now. Maybe my dad was a little bit afraid of the surgery, but I think it was probably a good decision on his part. No, I blamed God. When I was a Christian, I remember this very clearly. God had taken that away from me, right? So it wasn't like I didn't have animosity towards my dad, although he took the brunt of it, because he was my father during the course of this downward spiral. He had to witness it. He had to make the tough decisions once I started committing criminalities on whether, leave me in jail, take me out. So I've never harbored much of a grudge against my dad, but at the time as a Christian, I harbored a grudge against God.
Okay, so let me sort of sorry because somebody was texting me and I was
Oh no, no,
and
yeah,
my head was a little bit, yeah, so English was,
you're fine. You're
so
fine.
I'm just asking, so was it because, so if you're so carrying your wounds on your ankle, you wouldn't be able to pursue what you wanted to do, and so you blame it on God instead of your dad, and because you didn't blame your dad, but you felt like it was God who did not lead you to the path that you wanted to go, which was to be a basketball player in college. Am I
Well,
correct?
yeah, yeah. So from my perspective as a Christian at a time, believing in God, believing that God had given me this talent. I'd been told my whole life that I had this talent, that it was God
Yeah.
given. So yeah, you definitely, I have that
Yeah.
memory of being very resentful to God, and that was kind of the conversation that we were having. We didn't really have a chance because we ran out of time to have. Is
Yeah.
I was trying to explain that resentment would go away well before I stopped being a Christian. Even I didn't stop being a Christian because of that resentment, but it was clearly there. I definitely had it at the time, and I've spoken about it openly. But yes, I truly believed in God, and I truly believed that God had let me down of what I wanted. Now, as a Christian, I could sit there and
Yeah.
justify that. Well, God has His own plans for me,
Yeah.
but at the same time, He never did. I was asking for some kind of intervention to make me
Mhm.
a better person, and that never happened.
So was that also something that introduced you to your juvenile delinquency?
Yeah, I mean, I think that that was kind of always
because
there.
of the because of the because of the resentment that you harbor through that not being able to do your surgery. So because of that, you feel like firstly your faith has been shaken. Secondly, it sort of led you to want to just give up on whatever you want to do. Just give up on being a good per, being a good man.
Well, yeah, I would say so. Probably in the moment, I didn't really consider myself a bad person, but I was definitely out of control and doing some very bad things. And I think that I was being, a lot of us teenagers down there were being manipulated by uh, some very serious criminals that knew what they were doing. But yeah, I clearly remember having that resentment to God. And maybe even that rebellious part. Hey, I'd done everything right up until this point, and now all of this is taken away. There's no reason for me to play by these rules anymore. But like when you talk about like the delinquency, I think that was kind of always there, because I grew up very poor here in Battle Creek. My dad kind of interjected himself and got us away from that situation and moved us down in North Carolina originally when I was in the second grade, so maybe 1985 or so. And then we moved down there for good when I was in the fourth grade. My brother would have been second grade, I believe, and that was 1987. And then I stayed down there pretty much right up until I was 21 years old. But growing up in that very poor upbringing that I had up here, that's the period when I talk about like we were Christians, but we weren't really Christians, because we would go to church every Sunday, but at the same time we were kind of wild little kids, and our parents
Which
just let us
area?
run ruckus all over the town.
Oh, okay, cool. I don't know that North, because I have been to South Car- Car-
Carolina,
Carolina.
yeah.
Yes, but I've never been to. But I've never been to North, and so I don't know about in South Carolina. I was staying in a small town. I didn't really feel that the crime rates were high there. I mean, it was kind of spooky, where there was a lot of trees and forests, but I didn't feel well. I guess yeah. I guess it was different back then, and but
Mm.
then okay. So, but I mean, like one thing I want to ask you is knock, right? Knock.
Yeah. Yeah,
Knock.
knock
Yeah.
Ronnie works. I mean, as long as you're not using Ronnie
Yeah,
at this point, that name's out.
Why do you have so many names? I've heard people calling you Peterson. I've heard people calling you Knock. I've heard people calling you.
Yeah,
I mean,
I don't know why they call me Peter. Nakasuchi is the name that I use on YouTube. It's my Native American name. People call me Rage because the channel's name is Raging Atheist. But you know, Smokey Saint originally started using Ronnie, and I used it myself when I first started the channel way back in the day. I would use my first name, but then I started using Knock, probably video 3 on the Raging Atheist, honestly. So yeah, people started calling me Ronnie because Smokey Saint started calling me Ronnie, but I've kind of embraced that now. I've got an autobiography that's done. It's in the reading phase
now. That is your real name, right, Ronnie?
Yeah, that's my Christian name. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, so you are a Native American?
Yeah, 33% Cherokee.
Oh, you don't really look like one.
Yeah, I get that a lot. I have definite features. I do have this kind of red tint to my skin that makes it impossible for me to use my green screen successfully.
Wait a second. How do you get 33% Cherokee? You don't get 1/4? I thought you can only get 25% Cherokee. How do you get 33?
Oh, there's a whole bunch of mix of bloods, a whole bunch of blood mixtures. My father has a bit of Cherokee blood in him. My mom was I think she was 50%, something like that.
Are you able to speak like Native American language?
No, I learned a little bit. I got a couple sentences down when I was on the reservation.
You look a lot. I mean,
yeah, I get that all the time. John Grishala calls me a $5 Indian,
which means.
Back in I want to say early 1900s.
People expect me to understand American jokes just because I speak English. It's really difficult. I don't know. You know, Malaysian speak perfect English. Have you ever interacted with a Singaporean or Malaysian?
I'm not sure. Maybe I've mainly interacted with Chinese folk from my automotive.
But
when
Chinese
I was in automotive.
as fluent. Chinese people do not speak fluent English.
Yeah, they didn't speak very good English.
Yeah,
the ones that I knew.
English. Singaporean and Malaysian English is pretty much like if you want any Malaysian to have a basic conversation with American, no issue at all. But those American jokes, like, I'm not American. Like, yeah, I can speak English, but sometimes like I don't understand. Like, you guys have like some really weird jokes, and so
it's not a joke, it's a slur. I think it was back in early 1900s. The American government came out with some law that gave like tax exempt status, something like that, to Native Americans. So a lot of white people were trying to pretend to be Native Americans to get that tax exempt status, and that's where the term comes from. $5 Indian, somebody that a white person that pretends to be an Indian.
And this was back in the 80s.
I think when the term first came around, that was back in that was a long time ago. It was a long time ago.
So if they pretend to be a Cherokee, they can get money.
Yeah, well, I'm registered through the tribe. I don't collect any monies anymore, but I'm definitely registered through the tribe. I probably could get some kind of money if I wanted to.
From the government?
From however they do it. I think it's Indian Affairs. Oh,
okay. So just because you're like
you have to have a certain amount of blood, and especially in the Cherokee Nation, they're really.
Wow.
I'm not sure if the rest of the Native American tribes are as picky as Cherokee, but you really have to be able to show your bloodlines in order to be registered with the tribe.
Oh wow, nice! I wish I were one, so I could collect money. No, cool.
To me, a lot of Native Americans actually, at least a lot of Native Americans that I've spoken to, resent the fact that they get this little stipend of money when essentially what they want is their God back, and their God is their land.
Wait, so are most Native Americans Christians, or have they been like
that's a hard.
They've already been westernized, right?
That's a hard question. I think that and again, my experience has been mainly with Cherokees and Sioux, and there's a lot of different tribes out there that do things a lot of different ways. But I think primarily most of them are still Christian. They were converted to Christianity. I think more and more have reconstructed some of the old spiritual ways. When I was on the reservation in Cherokee, I was studying a universalist Native American religion. And that was a Reconstructionist model, trying to put back kind of what they had lost from the past. But I think primarily most of them are still consider themselves Christian. And then, on a lot of the reservations, there's adamant drug and alcohol abuse. That's a huge issue still.
I thought that people that are doing drugs and are like cartels and stuff are all like Mexican. Like I have this like stereotypical impression that a lot of Mexican would be like drug, like would be of the drug cartels. I guess I'm just ignorant. But then, okay, so now that I know that Native Americans, some of them also involved in that. But then like that's sorry, like I feel like we have been talking about something that's really off topic, but
yeah, we have been kind of on a yeah. I wanted to answer your questions, and for the chat, I haven't really looked too much at the chat, but I did see a lot of natives I know say that the government checks keep them poor, and that's kind of essentially what I've heard from the natives that I know, CJ, is that they have that sentiment that they think that the government checks really like keep them down instead of allowing them to work for themselves and prosper.
Cool. So Knock. So let's get back to the topic.
Yeah.
So my question for you is, have you already decided that whatever people tell you, you're not going to believe in God?
I'm at this point, I'm a hard atheist, so I am fairly certain that God doesn't exist. I'm getting closer and closer just to making that outright positive claim. But I always do try to keep myself open, I at least open to what I would consider to be real evidence that would sway me one way or the other. Now, I've always maintained, and I'll get that out of the way, even if I were to be proven that the Christian God were to exist as opposed to any of the other gods, well, then I would have to come to an understanding and be able to justify in my mind that that's a God that I would indeed follow. Because at this point, from what I see of the God of Abraham, I find it to be immoral.
So you found the God of Abraham to be immoral because? Is there any? Well,
just based on the descriptors of the God in the Bible. So, a God that, and I'm going to definitely have this conversation with Praise tonight, but a God that would, order the death of children, of babies, of innocents in times of war. A God that would call for the stoning to death of gay people.
Okay, so okay, yeah. So what about after Jesus came?
Well, that's something that I struggle with, and I'm actually about to start a new study of the New Testament so I can refresh myself, because I don't necessarily believe in a second covenant. I don't think that a triple omni God would be capable of changing, and I don't see the necessity, if you're a perfect God with a perfect plan from the very beginning, of needing to change that plan halfway through. So when I'm actually looking at scholars. Most Christians right now probably wouldn't like, but I've been listening to a lot of Richard Carrier and not so much the mythicism, but his comparisons of the New Testament to the Old Testament in regards of how it does seem to appear that the story of Jesus is just a retelling of the story of Moses, but putting it into a way that this new sect of Jews wanted to worship. So I'm not quite sold that the New Testament is actually a new covenant. I'm starting to become sold on the idea that this New Testament is just a new way for Jews to be Jews.
No, the story of Jesus and the story of Moses are two very extremely different stories.
Well, I would have to have my notes to really like do the comparisons. Richard Carrier lays it out really well. Yes, there are differences, but at the same time, there are a lot of similarities. A lot of the things that Moses does, Jesus would go on to do.
Moses wasn't crucified. That makes a huge. Well,
it depends on your idea of crucifixion. One could argue that Moses was crucified by God himself,
penetrating through your bones. That's
well, I mean, it would be different. But so in regards to the crucifixion, Moses did everything God wanted him to, led him to the promised land, and yet God denied Moses entry into the promised land, taking his life. Maybe not personally, but Moses' life would end before he ever entered the promised land.
Well, but Knock, he did not deny Moses to go to the promised land. It was because those people were being rebellious. That's why, and that's why God led Joshua to see the promised land, to, because people were sinning against the God of Israel. And I feel like I don't know if you have heard of this like quote. Somebody, I would have to do research on specific person that's saying it, but God of Israel is scary outside from Jesus Christ. Have you ever heard of that quote?
No, but I mean, I could see how, more progressive Christians, Christians that have been able to justify to themselves that this second covenant did indeed is something, to where this God figure has either changed or was never the way that it was described before. So yeah, I could definitely see the more progressive Christian having that view that God would be scary without Jesus, and I would totally agree. And that would be like the conflict that I would have if this God was proven true to me. That's what I would need to know. Is this God something that most progressive Christians would call a loving God, or is this the Old Testament God? And that would determine on whether or not I could follow it.
So are your parents still like, are they still church going Christians? Are they praying for you every day? And then
My dad hates my atheism. He's a Southern Baptist to a core. My mom has passed now, but she died a Christian still. And I do believe that she was going to a Baptist church when she died. But my mom has kind of been all over. My mom was raised down in Tennessee, in the Cherokee lands down there.
Really have a southern
I can turn it on anytime I want. I can turn on my Southern accent.
Which version is the real you? Was it a Southern way of speaking, or
the way I'm talking now has always been me? Because I always had that Yankee, and then I went down there, and they were making fun of me for being a Yankee. But after a while, you pick it up. Like if you like heard my dad talks like he's lived in North Carolina his whole life, even though the first 30 years of his life he was raised here in Michigan. But yeah, like the longer you're down there, the more you sound like everybody else around you. To where like me and my brother, we were down there for 20 years, but we always came back twice a year to visit our mom. So I get picked on a lot because of my pronunciations. I have this really weird slang. It's kind of a mix of North and South.
So where are you turning off your camera? Are you streaming from a toilet, or
no? I started smoking again, and I don't like smoking. I don't like smoking on camera.
Cool.
I have another quit. I quit for like 3 months, and then I started smoking. I went back to work, and I smoked one cigarette at work, and then I keep putting back my quit date again. So, but I've got a new quit date for next Friday, and I'm gonna give it a go again, and we're gonna see if I can do longer than 3 months this time.
Wait, so you only had one cigarette while you were at work? I know, because you work for restaurants and restaurant business. People that work in restaurant, mostly it's very stressful environment because it's fast paced.
Yeah. That's when I went back to work. That's that's when I started smoking again. Was you get stressed out. You go outside, everybody's smoking. You're like, hey, can I have one? And that's all it took. That one was all it took, and I was right back at it.
Yeah. Whoa. So you only had one cigarette?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it was, I smoked that one, and then I went home and I didn't smoke that night. But, I probably the next morning it had eaten at me through the night, and I went and bought a pack. Do
you also smoke weed?
Marijuana? Oh, yeah. I'll never quit smoking weed.
Wait. So my question is, when I was in the U.S., it was only like Colorado's like allowing recreational marijuana, but now it's like legalized everywhere, or is it?
Yeah, it's legal here. It's not everywhere now, but more and more states are coming on board.
Recreational.
Yeah, for recreational. I think it's like 28 states have it legal for medical.
For a few years, right? Only for a few years.
Yeah, it's recent. Yeah.
Okay, so prior to that, do you smoke weed?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. and honestly, a lot of Christians that I know smokes it. So.
Yeah, even people here do. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's not as prevalent as people in the U.S., but I've heard some people doing it here, and people definitely smoke weed here, and okay, so wait, what? I was going to ask another question. Okay, so or or do you have any question for me, or like, because
Well, I am a bit interested. So you live in Taiwan still?
no, I'm from Taiwan, but I live in Malaysia.
Hmm.
Yeah,
So
and so
you are overseas,
yeah.
and so I'm kind of getting like you're more of a progressive Christian, you know.
I am very hardcore, yes, but I don't go to church, and I don't do churchianity. And honestly, like, I feel like being a Christian, it also has a lot to do with the specific church that you go to, just the different cultures of different churches, and different cultures of different cu- countries as well. So it really isn't, for a person to be a completely Jewish, practicing, Levitical eating. Well, that is really probably really really like Jesus crazy. It takes a person to be really Jesus crazy to go all, Levitical on their food and doing fasting. But I would say where wherever you are, as long as you are you are a Christian, one thing you should definitely do, of course, prayers to God in Jesus' name, and acknowledge Jesus Christ as the Son of God. And for me, you have to believe. For me, I think a Christian also means you have to believe in the Trinity as well, and I believe you have to keep the Sabbath, which in my belief is Friday night to Saturday night. And I still also believe that you should still practice fasting maybe once a week, or it doesn't have to be a
Wow.
set day, but you just still have to do some practices for you to be a Christian. And yeah, so what is your question?
Well, do you consider yourself a Seventh Day Adventist? I know Seventh Day Adventist. They observe the Sabbath still, and they think that it's well, they say that it's Saturday. I think I happen to agree with them that the Sabbath would be Saturday as
No,
opposed to
I
Sunday.
don't. I went to Seventh-day Adventist church just because somebody invited me, but I don't like to categorize myself as some type of like to belong to a specific church. I used to be in the church. So when I was in the evangelical church, so I went to this church called Living Stream Ministry, which is the biggest Chinese church. It was everywhere in Taiwan. It was because people just need to open their homes, and all the church attendees can just go to a specific church member's house and do church and do Sunday school there, do church communion there, do Bible study, him singing. And yeah, a lot of Living Stream Ministry church members in Taiwan or even in China. I think it's the most I think it's the biggest Chinese church. So it was started by Witness Lee and Watchman Nee. I don't know, have you have heard of their.
Watchman Nee sounds familiar. The name rings a bell.
Yeah, because they later went to the U.S. and I think the church headquarters was in. I think the Living Stream Ministry, the headquarters was in Anaheim. So, but yeah, it's a pretty big Chinese like most. It's a pretty big Chinese evangelical Chinese congregation, and we don't have crosses in the church building. We don't celebrate Christmas. We don't celebrate Easter. We are pretty like a lot of Living Stream Ministry church members are. If you go to any of the major U.S. unit universities, I bet there's definitely fellowship group from Living Stream Ministry church people that are just handing out pamphlet, spreading spreading the gospel. But but the reason why I left was because I don't think they stress upon the importance of not non-sinning as hard as some other some other ev- evangelical evangelical
Evangelical.
believe. Yeah, because I don't know, not so many Chinese brothers watch porn, I guess. Like, I feel like I hop on freaking YouTube and I saw like a lot of American white people be like talking about like drug addiction in the past, talking about how they were addicted to the porn in the past. I felt like all the Chinese brothers in my church, they were like, I don't feel like they actually watch porn. Like, I feel like they're not addicted. That like the possibility for them to be addicted to porn was really that low. Like, I feel like is Asian people really more self-disciplined than white people? Like, I don't know, but I feel like it's just because Asian people don't really well, I feel like a lot of us, just because we care about saving face, we care about, well, at least church people would definitely, like, I don't know, not do that. So that's why they're not teaching that, because a lot of the Chinese church brothers don't seem to be addicted to porn, or at least they're not open about it, or at least how I pick up, they really seem to be, with some of us, really seem to be more self-disciplined than, sort of say, average, some Americans. And so,
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say is probably more an American thing than a white thing. I do think that Americans as a whole, we tend to be less disciplined, especially the younger generations that I manage younger people, and the younger generations, I'm not trying to be an ageist or nothing, but they do seem to have a different work ethic than I do anyway. And people my age, I'm not saying it's worse, but it's definitely different.
How old are you again?
I'm 43.
You're 43. Okay, so I'm 29.
Yeah, I'm old. I get in trouble when I say I'm old.
Have you ever been overseas to other countries?
Back when I was in college, I did we took the trains across Europe. So I was in several countries for a couple weeks. I don't remember most of it. We were partying pretty hard. I have pictures to remind me though.
France, Germany. That, because if you were definitely not British, Britain Islands, because it's like outside. Because if you're in the main Europe area, Italy, France, yeah.
Yeah, I know it. We hit Spain. We did quite a few days in Amsterdam. I love Italian wine. Italy was awesome. But yeah, we were drunk and we were stoned through most of it.
But did you get? I've heard that there's a lot of pickpockets there, like pickpocketers. Like, did you get stolen? Or
I never had an issue. No, I never got any money stolen. That happened to me down in New Orleans for Mardi Gras.
You said you were partying really hard. How do you know you? How do you know you?
Well, I guess you don't ever really know. But I never came up one night with my whole wad gone. I'll put it that way. There were probably plenty of nights where I spent more money than I thought I did, but never nothing like
We're taken by hookers. No, I'm just kidding.
It did happen to me. I went to Mardi Gras several times when I lived down south. And New Orleans has a thieves guild down there, and I did learn the hard way that you want to put your money in your sock if you walk around
New Orleans.
Yeah.
Oh, I really wanted to go there.
Yeah, just put your money in your sock.
Put my money in my socks?
Yeah, because they do have a pickpocket guild there.
I feel like I'm really stupid, and like I trust people very, very easily. I'm very gullible. I feel like sometimes it's really hard for me because I'll get manipulated, because Asian people don't normally do that. Like, they don't normally trick you and stuff. And so I feel like I probably should never go to like places like Italy or Spain, and people that are just setting up traps to like mug your money or take your money. And I don't know, like I don't know, but yeah, cool. But
yeah, there's definitely an element here of criminality. I was a part of that element for a long time. I never robbed people, so to say, but
because when I travel to the U.S., I'll be honest, I do feel that ambiance is just different from being in Asia. I felt the ambiance there was so like industrial, and people have to be so like putting their focus on work, because I was in Chicago also, and I felt like that it did make people, it was a really stressful feeling. I don't know, I'm always been spiritual and sensitive. I feel like it really would make a person want to go off board and do something, off board, overboard. I don't know. I feel like when I was in Chicago, I felt really the whole environment was very stressful, and the buildings were so tall, and I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, Chicago can be an intimidating city for even Americans going there for the first time. So I can imagine somebody from a different part of the world going having Chicago as their first stop. Probably downtown Chicago can be very intimidating. I live in Battle Creek. I'm about 2 hours away from Chicago. Been there several times. I still get lost.
Wait, so you live in Battle Creek. Is Battle Creek near Grand Rapids?
Yeah. I went to school in Grand Rapids.
Oh, wow.
I did my college there.
My freaking best friend is living in Grand Rapids. Yeah.
Yeah, it's about an hour and a half away. My daughter's diabetes doctor. Her endocrinologist is in Grand Rapids. We go once a month, and yeah, like I went to college there. Grand Rapids was a town that I loved when I was in college. I loved the town, but now it's been taken over by Seventh Day Adventists, so it's a different kind of town than it was when I grew up.
But my American friend told me that Grand Rapids has the second highest employment chances among all U.S. cities.
Wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me. The city's constantly growing. I think right now it's probably the second biggest city in Michigan, and it's on its way to being the biggest.
Oh, wow, cool. Yeah, because this is what my American friend told me. He said, I said, so why did you move to Grand Rapids? And he was just saying like, oh, because it's the second. The city has the second biggest employment chances among all other U.S. cities. And I was like, oh wow, really?
Yeah, and if he's religious, he'll get along there because it's a lot of religious folk there. Yeah, a lot of religious folk. I'm supposed to. Justin Coe, who is a Seventh Day Adventist, is one of these days going to come to Michigan and introduce me to the Seventh Day Adventist leaders here. Most of them would be focused in the Grand Rapids area. They've completely taken over the town, so I'm interested in kind of like talking to them about that, the differences in Grand Rapids, if they think it's like a positive change. I'm going to be totally respectful when I have the conversation. Is my friend Justin Coe's my friend. I don't want to do any damage to him if he's going to hook me up with an interview. But I'm really looking forward to it. I enjoy talking to all types of different Christians, and I really enjoy it when they're not hostile conversations. Everybody knows I'm more than willing to get into those hostile conversations, but the ones that I like is the ones that I can really mesh out.
Maybe you should talk to more of it international audiences, because Americans do tend to act more aggressive and forward with their attitudes if their beliefs, they're strong and opinionated with their beliefs and stuff. But I would say people that I talk to internationally speaking, Asian, Europeans, most of the time aren't that way, but Americans just seem to be a little bit of a dick sometimes. So
that's a good way to put it. And I've talked to several Christians here that are decent. Like, I'm enjoying this conversation. We veered off path a couple of times, but that's going to happen. I'm not trying to trap you with anything. But yeah, I've met a few really decent Christians, mainly more in my life than here on YouTube. Here on YouTube, the American Christian crowd, they get fierce. I'm not going to lie.
so Knock, what if I were to tell you I was attacked by some really malevolent and demonic stuff when I was in the Mormon church? And, because I feel like sometimes a lot of things are just revealed to a Christian personally instead of collectively. So when I try to describe my experiences with a lot of people, a lot of them just feel like, oh, this is just a bad experience. But they don't really get when I said that I felt I was really being chased after by some really malevolent stuff. And, because I experienced that God opening my eyes, like I could be able to see what was going on. It was like this specific Mormon was just attacking me for no reason at all, and she was always, her demons were always outsmarting me all the time. So I like to say, I always tell people that I was ritually abused, and I know that for some, if you were to really research on MK Ultra or the true ritual abuse, my experience really wasn't amounting to any of the ritual abuses. A lot of some Americans, some people experience like truly like having like freaking a metal stuff putting on their head and freaking like have something burning over it, like. Because I have research on ritual abuse, and I know some people in the 70s, MK Ultra project or whatever, like whatever CIA project or just being raised in a satanic coven, behind churches. Because I also met an American who, growing up being poor, they. So a church, like an organization masquerading as church, have them live behind church, but they're actually doing satanic ritual abuse inside that that so-called church. And so, my experience really wasn't amounting to any of the ritual abuse experience, but I did, like, really wasn't physical to that level, but I did feel like this woman missionary was just like malevolent. Like, firstly, her face looked absolutely wicked. She looked like Anne Hathaway from that witch movie. And, and she constantly, because I'm very empathetic, and if you click into my channel, Knock, you can see that I actually crack a few. Well, like there's a specific crime case I was specifically obsessed with, which was Elisa Lam case. I don't know if you heard of her. Have you heard of her?
I don't think so. It's
Yeah,
the
so, okay,
name
so,
is tickling my memory, but it's not coming. It's not
okay,
coming to my memory.
so she was an Asian Canadian who traveled to Skid Row and Cecil Hotel. So she stayed there, but she exited very early in the elevator. And then later, 2 weeks later, her body was discovered in the freaking water tank. And I believe she was satanically, ritually, spiritually gain stock, satanically, ritually sacrificed. It happened to people that have bipolar disorder, because bipolar people most of the time are very could be spiritual. They could be really in tune. They could be they can just they're more manic. So in a way, it could be like they're more sensitive with the spiritual realm or whatever. Like, I know some people don't really believe in that, but I believe bipolar people sometimes are more prone to having spiritual awakening, or so basically, so I discovered that she was satanically ritually sacrificed. So basically, from what my experience was, so I am bipolar manic as well. So I sometimes I do have bipolar manic depression, and so when this woman missionary was attacking me, she so it was like she would block my empathy. Do you know what I said? Like, I'm empathetic, right? So I'm very empathetic. I'm very empathizing. I'm very highly sensitive. She would block it. I constantly feel just empathetic, close connection with Jesus Christ. I constantly feel it, and it's very spiritually comfortable. It's very, like, I just like to be in a place where I'm spiritually comfortable. But she would hijack my empathetic ability, and she would block my empathetic ability. I don't know, like, it's very hard to explain to you, but Knock, I want to give you a lot of examples to tell you that Christianity is real. And so this is the first example, but long story short, yeah, she would do a little manipulative act to me. And I did an interview with Brett King, but I wasn't really laying out like major points, which I regret. I sometimes ended up just doing small talk, which I was like, freaking, I was such a small talker. Like, it's really hard for me to get not procrastinate and talk the bullet point. But then anyway, basically it was like she would hijack my freaking empathy, and she would not allow me to be myself in Jesus Christ. It's really hard to tell you. But anyway, this is the first example. So later I got delivered from this malevolent being through this woman that was trying to chase after me, because I felt like I was spiritually being locked. I felt I was locked. Like, I was locked. I was spiritually being locked. Like, and she wasn't even with me 24/7, because she was just a freaking missionary. So I went to Bible study with her. I went to study the Book of Mormon with her. The freaking Mormon chapel was freaking close to my house. So I freaking just take the freaking bus and could just study the Book of Mormon with her. But then, it was just weird. It was a very odd spiritual feeling. It was very odd. I didn't know how to describe to you, but it was basically, she was locking my empathy. She was, I felt I was locked. I felt like something here was not communicative. So this is example number one. So
yeah. Well, real quick, there's a lot to unpack there. First, I never try to dismiss people's personal experiences. I think that people's personal experiences are what lead them to their beliefs. I don't try to dismiss them. I'm not in your mind. I'm not in your body. I can't experience what you experience. So I try not to dismiss those, but at the same time, I do try to be very, very clear and evident that somebody else's personal experience is never going to dissuade me or prove to me a certain thing. So like, when it comes to satanic abuse, I'm not sure how it is overseas, but it does here in the States. Most Satanists, so to speak, quote unquote Satanists, they're not what you would think of as a conventional Satanist, doing black mass, sacrificing, whether it be animals or children. Satanists here in the States are mainly going to be the Temple of Satan type Satanist, that very political in nature, secular humanist. So I'm not sure if that kind of crime is still going on overseas, but it does seem that's kind of like that's a rarity here in the States. But like when it comes to like somebody, psychologically attacking you, and I'm not trying to dismiss your experience at all, but could it just be that this person, some people just don't click, right? Like some people, whatever it is about this person, there's something about them that just kind of sends me into a negative place. And could that just be like just this natural reaction to you having to a person that you have come to have severe disagreements with, or did you feel some kind of emotional and physical reaction to the person that maybe would have led you to believe that this was a demonic attack?
So if you were talking about physical, she never hit me. So no, there was nothing physical.
Not like that, but like something that you felt, like whether it's like goosebumps or just some kind of physical reaction your body was having to this person, as they were, sucking away your empathy or something.
I wasn't able to think straight. I feel like somebody was doing witchcraft on my head. I wasn't able to think straight. I was very, I felt somebody was doing something to my head. I was brain fogged, and I was not able to. I wasn't able to think straight. So that's probably not that big of a physical reaction, but I really feel like I was, because I'm a very, expressive, fast pass type of person. I wasn't able to be myself. I was being attacked by her. Like I wasn't able to, I wasn't able to express myself when I was with her. I felt something seal my mouth. I wasn't able to spit whatever, shoot. Like, I felt like, you know what? I felt like the Holy Spirit restrained me and served for later judgment on her. But I know that you don't believe in this, but I believe in this. And you know what, Knock? I would just shoot you a second example.
Sure.
So, if you don't watch international news a lot, you probably don't know. But so I was really burdened to pray for this Malaysian airplane that went missing 7 years ago. So it's Malaysian airliner, MH370, and it was from Kuala Lumpur to Beijing. And it went disappear halfway. And so I was praying. I really was feeling burdened to pray for people, because a lot of Chinese people on board, they are not Christians. A lot of their relatives, they're not Christians. If those relatives were Christian, okay, even if they die, they might still have hope, but they don't have any hope. They feel like their family just evaporate out of thin air. And so I was praying for them, and I met this Indian pastor that basically he saw visions before this happened. And so 8 months ago, he saw visions, and he had been a very prayerful guy, a prayerful Christian. And I think his father was a Christian, father was a pastor, grandfather was a pastor, great grandfather was a pastor. Like he was just pastor family. And so he saw visions prior to this incident, and and so in the first so are you interested to even know the visions? But anyway, he saw visions, and that's why I was keeping in touch with him, and I check, I still, even to this day we're still praying. But I feel like sometimes when God doesn't reveal to you the answer, there could be a reason there, because Knock, like I feel like, sure, I don't know, like I enjoy this conversation with you, and I honestly can see how there are people praying for you, because you really don't come off as this like resentful atheist that just like full of curse words, and you.
Well, I have my moments, definitely.
This glow of I guess people praying for you or whatever, like from you. I still see that God's working on you, especially you're not imposing on our daughter. You're like letting her go to church or whatever. So I feel like praying for you and so did.
Oh yeah, I never take offense when people want to pray for me. Or even a lot of atheists don't like it when Christians try to convert them. But to me, it would almost be like it would be like the same as what the NIV people do and call me a reprobate and God hates you. You're no, like if you're trying to save me, even though I don't believe in any of that stuff. At the same time, I can't have an understanding that you're trying to do a good thing in your eyes. It might be annoying to me or whatever, but I've never been one to be like, oh no, don't go and pray for me. That doesn't bother me at all. When Ali was on the
I'm
channel, I would let her pray for me all the
I
time.
want people not to pray for me. So
Uh,
yeah. Right. So what? Yeah.
yeah,
So
yeah. It's something that's never really bothered me.
So do you think it's legit proof for me to tell you that somebody see visions because somebody's prayerful? Because
Well, so I guess it would depend on the vision. So like if somebody is seeing visions of the future and that future comes true, that would be something that I would consider, especially if there's like a lot of detail to it. I think that the issue is most people that have visions of the future end up relaying those visions in very circular prophecies that are very easy to not believe. So they're not going into the details. Just to take for instance, Nostradamus. Everybody gives Nostradamus credit for predicting Hitler, right? But he doesn't. He predicts history, and he predicts very different things than what actually happened. And yet they still jump to the conclusion, oh, Nostradamus was talking about Hitler. No, he wasn't. It's fairly clear.
I don't know about Nostradamus. So he predicted the arising of Hitler, was it?
Well, they say that he did, but the guy was named Hister, and there was a lot of detail. It's very vague. Like when people are writing these prophecies, or even in the modern day when they're given these prophecies, they tend to be very vague and not give detail. A very modern example of this would be Marcus Rogers. Now, Marcus Rogers, declared himself a prophet when he predicted that Donald Trump would be president the first time. Well, then he predicted it again this most recent time, and he was wrong. So now he's dealing with the fallout of that, because these visions that he supposedly had from God, they didn't turn out to be true. So like when it comes to visions, I think that the human mind is very creative. I have visions all the time. I'm a fiction writer. I come up with stories. I had these visions of these stories of these worlds that never existed anywhere outside of my own mind.
So was Hister a real guy? Hister. So you were saying like Nostradamus.
No, the name that he gave the person was Hister, and people say he was talking about Hitler.
It was still similar. Okay, he might not get it
similar.
Right, but that the spiritual realm was real, right? Because somehow he saw some visions or whatever, like made him predict. So in a way, it's still
circular visions can be, anybody living in any time, any generation can predict that there's going to be a great war in the future. I can sit here right now and predict that there's going to be a great war in the future.
That proves the spiritual realm to be real, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to even feel or feel any visions, right? Otherwise, so what is the source that provide the dream? What is the source that provide the vision? What is the source that give you divine inspiration? What is the source? There's a source, right? And yeah,
I actually agree with Tom on something. We don't agree much, but he's like, Hister is the name given. If it was Hitler or not, who knows? That's kind of the point. Is he doesn't really give any details outside of a very a close name that would make this definitively, or he's definitely talking about what happened in World War II. He just got a name. He came up with a name back when Nostradamus lived. We experienced Hitler, so now we take those two names and say, very similar. You see what I'm saying? It's circular.
Yeah, but you know what? I feel like honestly, like it might be cliche to like say that, but it still takes you to experience God personally, because what I don't want to see is that you somehow know that God is real, but you are rejecting him. That's what I don't want, like, this to happen, because I feel like what I pick up from you is that I feel like you actually acknowledge God, but you're just pushing against that idea of how like the higher presence existing is actually real. Like you're pushing away. You're pushing that. Am I correct? Do you actually like, or
No.
you completely denounce the the possible fact for you that God is real, or you are, yeah, which one?
Yeah, I agree. With a guy named Sidney Winston that comes on the channel sometimes, and he says that God is an impossibility. That is my belief. I think that God is an impossibility. I don't think that there's any higher purpose, higher meaning. I don't think that there's any forces outside of what's natural. I don't believe in the supernatural. I completely reject the supernatural. What I am interested in, and when I get these rare chances to do so, because more times than not, people come at me combatively right from the very beginning. And if somebody comes at me with some combat in mind, I'm more than willing to give it to them. But what I'm most interested in is understanding why you still believe. And with understanding, I can empathize.
But knock, a lot of my housemate friends in the past, my sister, they all saw some like ghost or something. Like I have a Japanese friend, and you know what she saw? Like, you know, they're not the kind of people that would lie. She saw.
Well, I don't think that people have to lie. The eyes play tricks on us. Late at night, you know, it hasn't happened to me. I was actually real quick. I was thinking about this the other day. Like, this hasn't really happened to me since I was religious and a lot more superstitious. But I do remember, like, late at night when I would be a teenager, or even in my early 20s when I was still a believer. Late at night, if I was at home alone, right, and it was dark outside, and there would come this moment where I would just get totally creeped out. You know, you hear noises that you think somebody's in the house with you, and you get totally creeped out. And you know, I think people can attribute that some of these weird emotions that we get at freaky times to be some of these ghost stories. My thing when it comes to ghosts is I never try to take away people's personal experiences. I never want to point the finger at somebody that told me that they saw a ghost and be like, oh, you're just lying to me. My thing is, we live in an age and an era where everybody has video cameras, and we have we would have like actual, like, real solid evidence of this by now. I think if it was a real phenomena, and that's the type of thing that I would need to believe something like that. You know, because I used to kind of delve in the spiritual world with the Native American spirituality. We believed in ghosts. We believe in, you know, I've participated in a couple seances. I've had a couple Wiccan girlfriends, and, you know, I always thought it was kind of weird, but I would get into it and try to understand it a bit.
I do look a little bit like that Japanese woman from the Grudge, right?
I have never seen The Grudge. I don't watch scary movies. I can read horror books and be perfectly fine. I've read every Stephen King book that known to man, but I don't like to see it visually on the screen. And I haven't since like Friday the 13th. No, it was Nightmare on Elm Street, the first one. I was like 5 or 6. My dad let me stay up late and watch it with him, and I had nightmares. And I just, ever since then, I don't like horror movies. So I've hardly seen any of them. You know, the raging atheist gets all squishy with horror stuff.
You don't believe in ghosts. You don't believe in the spiritual realm. You got creeped out at night, but you. So by saying that you're scared of horror movies, mean that you felt something was off, right? So then
I just don't know. I just don't like seeing the visuals of human beings being brutalized. I don't want to. I don't like seeing the visuals of, you know, it doesn't have to be horror related. I remember back during the first Iraq War, my friends would try to.
For me to tell you horror stories from my friends, or you don't want to hear them at all?
I don't mind hearing them. I don't like seeing them.
Pretty scary. So I have a Thai housemate. I used to had a Thai housemate. She told me I have a Japanese friend. She saw it as well. I have two Taiwanese friends that can see that kind of weird stuff as well. It's super weird. They can see. I can never see. But I have a Thai housemate, and you know how Thailand is famous for horror films. And so she told me about how when she was in Thailand, and when it's near a station called it's in Bangkok, it's called Nana Station. Oh yeah. So basically she went to this pet hospital with her mom when she was young, to taking their pet. And so when she was walking in the hallway, and suddenly she just saw this woman. I'm not joking. I'm not joking. If my friends are liars, I'm not gonna be their friends. They're not liars. They are really honest people. And so, are you sure you want to hear? I feel you're a little scared.
Well, no, I'm perfectly fine. I'm naturally a skeptic. So like I don't dismiss. I would never call your friends liars. But I would say that there's often times in this world where we're just not understanding what we're actually seeing, and again, like my question would be, why don't people in the moment take out their cell phones and record this phenomena?
She saw a woman taking a string of keys and telling her to go that way, go whatever, like basically telling her to go, and so she just followed, and that woman just like took her like you know how like hospital sometimes you have to go straight, sometimes you have to turn right or whatever. She just freaking followed, and then this woman just came in front of a door that and so that woman just went inside. And my friend, I don't know why my friend was so stupid. Why the heck did you follow a freaking strange woman? And so she just followed, and she didn't want to turn. She wanted to open the door. She like she tried to open the door, but she couldn't. And later like a nurse or whatever. If I'm not mistaken, this part later, whatever, like a staff from the hospital came and it was just like, "What are you guys doing here? This is a freaking how do you say Montague? What's the name? The place for corpse?
Oh, morgue, mortuary.
Yeah, it was, and there was like no one was allowed to go there. It was a morgue.
See, I mean, and I've read a lot of Stephen King books, and Stephen King kind of delves in this. I don't think he's a believer, but his stories oftentimes will go to this supernatural realm, ghost stories. I'm from the South, and I knew a lot of superstitious people. I myself, when I was a Native American spiritualist, thought that I had directly spoken to my ancestors. I had this conversation with them. Now, we were doing a Native American ceremony that included peyote, which is a psychedelic hallucinogenic. So it's very easy for me to dismiss that, look back on that now saying, hey, that experience was drug induced. And oftentimes, I don't think that you even have to be on a particular drug in order for your beliefs and superstitions to kick in and kind of fuel your brain with that adrenaline, whatever's going on in your brain in that situation. I think it's very easy if people have these superstitions to have experiences that's going to legitimize them, because as they're experiencing life through the lens of having those superstitions. If that, hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully that would make sense.
Well, then what is the source to materialize those superstitions then?
Well, I mean, I'll be quite honest, and I don't want to. I don't want to say like they're lying, but a lot of people, tell these stories so they can get legitimacy with other human beings. So by telling you this story, it gives them some legitimacy towards, hey, we believe in the same things. And not only that, but I've had this particular experience. And oftentimes I think humans often create these experiences in their lives to justify beliefs that they might be struggling with internally.
I don't know. Like I have so many friends that, that told me, even my own sister, and also, and previously, because Chinese people, you know what, you could be right, but it could be, because Chinese people believe that seeing something like red ghosts is not good. And my friend actually saw some like red ghosts. It was, it's a little bit scary. Sorry. Yeah, but I don't know. Like
ghosts don't scare me. Spiders do. I don't like spiders.
Spiders scare me too, and roaches. Yeah, but I understand what you're talking about when you talk about superstitions. That they're just they're experiencing their own superstitions in their head. Could be, yeah, but
And it could be a very real experience to them, or who's to say this person that your friend followed wasn't a real person, but their mind put it
What?
together in a way that they convinced themselves that it wasn't.
People were not
It doesn't have to be an outright lie. I think a lie is an intentional thing, and I think that a lot of people, when they tell me these stories, they're not lying to me, but they're telling me their truth. But the skeptic in me is trying to relate that into a personal experience that is explainable, because ultimately I think naturalism can explain almost everything.
I don't know, like I believe in science as well, but that doesn't go against the spiritual side of the things, and that doesn't make God not real just because Big Bang is real, because that could be God using
I
Big
agree.
Bang in the universe. That
I
could be
agree
God.
wholeheartedly. Yeah, you know, so when it comes to the proposition, and one of the reasons why, like, I've never been like a hard atheist to put that positive claim that a God can exist. I've always said, hey, I wasn't there, I don't know. Which would we kind of talked about that our first conversation. I until recently, I
I
considered
wasn't there. I
myself.
don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
Right?
until I consider myself an agnostic atheist until recently. But I am coming to that more hard line. But when it comes to the supernatural, these are things that we're never going to be able to prove or disprove, unless we have some like far superior technology than we have now. It's not going to happen in our lifetime. So it's like a mute question. It has no meaning. So when I come to my non-belief, I approach it from the holy text. So if I can disprove just one thing in that holy text, well, then that brings the whole question of this particular deity into question. If there's some being out there that's gonna, be untestable, and kind of guide this universe along, this massive universe that we live in, to me, that being isn't going to give a rat's crap about this speck of a human being on this speck of a planet and the wider range of the things that he's orchestrating, or it's orchestrating.
Okay, cool. But still, like, I feel like, wait, so how long is your stream gonna run?
I usually go about an hour and a half to two with these with these conversations. I'm enjoying the conversation, so I don't want to end it too quickly. But whenever you need to go, feel free. But I was thinking about we could probably run to around 2 o'clock or so.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, because it's Saturday here, so I don't really have Saturday morning here actually. So, yeah.
I have a conversation with Praise tonight that should still be going to happen, and I do have a little bit of prep to do. I want to go back and watch one of his recent streams, so I have some questions for him. But yeah, outside of that, not much going on.
Cool. Because I still want to end the stream by praying for you, and also if you have any questions with Christian beliefs or Christianity in general. Firstly, like, I know that this community is about debate and stuff, but firstly, even though I speak English, but still, like, there's a lot of specific scientific terms that I sometimes I'm not super familiarized with.
Oh, me too.
But
I have good friends that are patient with me when it comes to science. I like reading the Bible. So the science thing is I'm
yeah,
playing catch up with it.
yeah, science, like, sometimes there's some scientific terms, so I might not be able to um like explain that well, like, compared to some people that have more of a firm theological stamp. Like, I have my theological standpoints, but I feel like for me, it's my approach has always been praying for people, and showing that people that Christianity is really the right way for you to live your life. Like, I used to be really, I can just tell you my own testimony of how God give me, like, I wasn't planning to move overseas at all, but God's plan was just, God, like, I guess God wanted to use me in this country, and he decided to mobilize me. And so he just sent me this job. I didn't even apply for it. And this current job that I'm currently doing, and also everything, according, include everything, like everything in life, I feel God arranged for me. Like, I feel like because had it not been my faith in Jesus, nothing would be achieved. And I would just be, like nothing would happen. So I do believe in the Bible when the Bible says, all things works for the benefit of those who love God and seek first the kingdom of God, and all the other things will be added onto you. And so it's definitely something that takes faith, and it's not, it's, for me, like being a Christian, I know it's about learning to, endure to the end, as sometimes God reserved the best at the end. So, having the patience to wait for your dessert and not just follow whatever the pseudo blessings the enemy is giving you to have like gratification right away, so that you are actually falling into temptation and sin. And so, for me, it takes a village, and, but it's really rewarding to be a Christian. It's not that much of it's not always like you have to get, it's not always like those like Christian talk like about like how you have to, embrace getting beheaded if it comes down to that. It's not always that. It's not always like that type of bloody. It's not always about like that, but there's a lot of fruits and rewards and blessings as a Christian. And so that's why I don't want, like, I feel like all my entire life I just want to evangelize to everyone. Like, I don't want, like, I might not have the, like, even my enemy, like I wouldn't want my worst enemy to miss out on knowing God. And so
Yeah, I totally get that concept, and my hope would be that if God is real, and God is something to be worshipped, so that God is an arbiter of a high morality, and maybe people just got some things wrong, or more primitive peoples couldn't understand such a complex creature. If that does end up being the case, I would hope that said being wouldn't be so petty as to not reveal himself to me before the end of my demise. I often say that I think I'm gonna die atheist. I can't see myself becoming an atheist in a foxhole, reaching out for a God just because the end is near. And oh my God, that Pascal's wager. What if I'm wrong and I have to pay the price? So I'll fake it until I die. No, I would hope that the God would reveal itself to me as it has. Certainly to a select people. You yourself, you stand pretty firm in your convictions. My thing is that oftentimes I don't think it's necessarily a God coming to a person. I think more times than not, it's children being taught about God, raised to believe in God, and then getting this groundwork developed at a very young age. So as they propel themselves into adulthood, then this is the scope of their.
I wasn't thought of God. I was just
Well,
the Holy Spirit.
but then you do have you have this surrounding society. So even we see it all the time. Peoples that haven't been indoctrinated from childhood. We humans are naturally affected by the society that surrounds us. So if everybody around you believes in a thing, humans can tend to pick up on that.
When I first walked into the evangelical church at age 8, no, when I first walked into the, like I said, Living Stream Ministry Church people do home church. When I first walked into the home church, I freaking cried for no reason at all. I felt the Holy Spirit. That wasn't my. I guess that's the way I'm wired. I'm really spiritual, and like I just.
Well, I definitely think you feel that without a doubt. I get that 100% from you. But my thing would be, is how do you interpret that feeling that you're getting, the excitement of doing something that you love as a human being, and kind of interpret that as the divine spirit.
I did not do anything. I just walked inside and I just felt like some really holy energies. I just cried. I didn't do anything. I don't know. I just cried. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Like, I guess it's also because of my empathy. So, people that have the gift of spiritual, people that are more discerning, and, yeah. I just I just cry. And so, you know, sometimes I feel like as a weaker vessel, as a woman, and as a, because women are more emotional, and as somebody that is pretty spiritual, I do think that, I guess I'm more able to discern such thing, but yeah. So
Well, I don't think that you're weaker or lesser. I think uh,
that's what Bible
men and
says.
women definitely have their different motivations. And I think we're all individually our own creatures.
She
So
sounds. I saw somebody from a chat say she sounds bipolar. I am. She sounds. And
I'm OCD. I have
you.
everything I do in life is patterns. So.
But you know what? You know what? It is those people that are more emotionally not grounded. I feel like a lot of them are really good prayer warriors, and I don't know, like if you were involved in fellowship group or people that are more passionate, that maybe are not the best, the most grounded, emotionally grounded people, Christians. These type of people are actually prayer of like are able to really I don't know. These type of people are warriors. Prayer. You see, like I feel like I'm really not left-brained, so I'm not able to like. I feel like sometimes when what, I have a lot of people in my life when I just start talking, they just walk away because they don't like my energies. They don't like the fact that I'm so putting myself out there and just like bold and like outspoken and like don't have a good sense of.
I understand that.
Have a good sense of
Well,
love.
not about you, but I get the same thing. I feel the same way a lot. I put myself out there. I don't hide myself. I am who I am, and I think people kind of get. People are used to wearing their own mask, and so they don't know how to act around people that don't.
Yeah, and because I do crazy talk a lot because because my math and my sense of logical thinking is really bad. And so I'm not able to be so like, sometimes I just say, oh, I freaking saw a ghost. Like, I don't know. Like, I feel like I'm too like blunt. Like sometimes people cannot take that. And so it's also really, really hard for me, especially, even when previously when I was in church and when I was talking about testimony, people always said like I was too much. Even when I was in the freaking bar and I would just be hanging out with my friend and I'm overhearing guys saying, oh, she was too much. And I was just like, screw you. Like, you're not saying too much on that.
I find you to be fascinating. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Like I said, since our first conversation a couple of days ago, I've enjoyed both. Now, I think you're a fascinating person. I think that you definitely believe what you believe, and
you don't think
you're not rude about it. Like you don't approach me like I'm some kind of enemy that you need to like squash under your boot heel.
I know I'm not a rude American. That
yeah.
But
so I enjoy you. I think you're fascinating. I hopefully we can have more of these conversations.
Literally, like when I was in a bar in Taiwan, and I'm just overhearing these little Western guys. I guess that guy was from Australia or freaking UK, and was just like, "Oh, she was too much," and I was just like, because a lot of Taiwanese people they would say, "Oh wow, you're so Westernized. Oh wow, you're super cool. You must be super like freaking." Popular if you were growing up in the state, because I didn't grow up in the state, but a lot of Taiwanese people they thought I was like freaking ABC, like American born Taiwanese people, like freaking cool, like they thought I was really cool. But I like I'm not sure why even a lot of times, but oh wow, you're super westernized, but it's so strange. Like a lot of Taiwanese people that they say, I think all your boyfriends must have all been like Westerners, like you must have been like always like hanging out like dating Westerners. I was like, no, I literally had a Westerner telling me I was too much. Like I don't really know what, yeah, yeah. And I remember there was this one time I was in a bar in Taiwan called Revolvers, and I was hanging out with my friend who looked like freaking Jennifer Lawrence, Asian type, Asian version. She looked gorgeous. She's Jennifer Lawrence level. She's gorgeous. and we were just freaking eating snacks and
Trying to place. That's the actress that was in Hunger Games,
Hunger
right?
Games.
Yeah.
Hunger
All
Games.
right.
Yeah, she was really hot. She was super hot, and we were freaking drinking like like cocktail, and there was just this like German guy who was just like making his way and just like sitting next to my friend because well, I sit over here and my friend sit over here, and that German guy was somewhere else, and he just came and sit by my friend, and he just like looked into her and started to talk to her and didn't look at me at all and eating our snack and was just like, oh, how are you? Where are you from? I was like, this motherfucker is rude. Like it was rude. And I was even like, excuse me, can I have some snacks? And he was like, oh, sorry, yeah, you can have it. I was like, do you know how pissed I felt? Like I was like, what the heck? Like I feel like people were saying, oh, you're so westernized. Like you must have like tons of like foreign boyfriend that or foreign guys that really want to date you. But then like
Well, when I first met you, I thought you lived in the States. I was, in fact, before you came on, I was mentioning it. I was like, I think she's East Coast time, but
that's
yeah.
like they thought I was American. They thought I was like, or they thought because in Taiwan, American school is super expensive. American school students, they those American school children, you need a good. Firstly, you need a good for building fees only. You would need a freaking good. I would say. Oh, I know it's 30,000 Taiwanese dollar, but I don't know how much is it in the US. Wait a second. So 30. So wait, $1 is okay. 30,000 Taiwanese dollar. 10,000,000. No. 个十百千万算. Okay, as far as I heard, you need a 个十百千万. You need 90. I think you need nine. Oh no, sorry, 30,000 10,000,000 You need a freaking 10,000 building fees just for building fees to be enrolled into freaking Taipei American school.
So 10,000 American dollars.
$10,000. Yeah.
Wow.
Building fees. So those people when
That's crazy.
They're wealthy AF. They're like, so those Taiwanese kids that can go to America, they're either mixed, if they're pure Taiwanese, then that means they're wealthy AF. And so a lot of Taiwanese people thought that I was from that school, but I wasn't. But those American children, they either end up getting a degree, studying in UCLA or go to the freaking UK or some I think some go to Illinois as well, like all over the US, but basically major places where it's more liberal and have more Asians. And I don't know, like some people in Taiwan thought that I was from American school or any international school, so I got a lot of jealousy as well.
See, my story was kind of. I was always popular because of sports, but when I lived down south, I was a Yankee, so I had friends, but a lot of people were like, stay away from the Yankee. And then when I came back up north, everybody thought I was a hillbilly because I still had that southern twang. It took, I've been up here for 14 years now. Most of that twang is gone, but when I first moved here, it was like I wasn't a Michigander anymore. I was like some alien to these people, and slowly over time, I become nativized, I guess.
Yeah, but I feel like like those American school children in Taiwan, I feel like they're never gonna survive out there because I've heard some of them, growing all the way from kindergarten to high school, they were all in American school, and they were surrounded by a lot of wealthy people. I feel like in a way that makes you sheltered, and I think you're supposed to go out there and meet people and meet different type of people. It's not well. I guess they as children they cannot choose as well because their parents paved the way for them. But I feel like I wouldn't want to send my kids to a place where there's only really wealthy people and all speaking like multi languages, and their eyes are like above their noses. Above their forehead. The eyes are already above their noses anyway. So yeah. Did you have this expression, eyes above your forehead? Eyes, like their eyes, like they're really arrogant. How do you say that in English?
Um, uh,
Their eyes are above their.
arrogant assholes.
Because there's a Chinese expression saying that, your eyes is above your above your forehead. That means like you
like
don't.
really haughty, and yeah, I definitely we definitely have that here. The area in North Carolina that I grew up in was predominantly very very rich white people, and yeah, they definitely walk around thinking that when they fart, there's no bad smell coming out of it.
Yeah. Wow. Cool. Yeah, but a lot of Mormon people are really rich as well. Like I know a specific Mormon missionary guy. I'm not gonna say his last name because he's famous, but he came to Taiwan and he got like 9 siblings. And I just added previously I was his Facebook friend and I saw him like traveling all over the world, like freaking Israel, freaking Middle Eastern country. I was like, Mormon people are really rich. Yeah, a lot of Mormon people, I think this hotel called Marriott is built by Mormon, and a lot of and this famous, like this brand Amway and New Skin and like this essential oil brand named doTERRA, they're all started by Mormons. Mormons are really rich.
I didn't know that. I do know. Yeah, a lot of Mormons that I know are very wealthy. There are some Mormons in Utah that aren't. They live on these compounds. I can't quite remember their names. The polygamists, but I also noticed that in evangelical Christian America, especially the more fundamental evangelical families. Like if you see a Quiverful family, I talk about the Quiverful all the time. These families are very, very wealthy. It allows them to go and have 20, 25 kids. Most of them are very wealthy, affluent people.
5 kids?
Oh yeah. The Quiverful movement, their whole thing is they think that, yeah, in the Quiverful movement, it's a husband and wife.
What is that, Amish movement? What did you say?
No, the Quiverful it's a fundamental evangelical movement to where there's passages in the Bible to where you're supposed to keep your quiver full. They think that Jesus are telling them to reproduce an army for Christ. So yeah, they'll have. It's become famous over here. The Duggars were on. I think it's TLC.
Is that normal to have 25 children in that movement?
Yeah, in that movement, yeah. Steven Anderson, I think he's up to 14 now, and still plugging away.
I kept hearing this guy Steven Anderson, but I didn't really know about I haven't really dig into his history. Who is he?
He is he's a independent fundamental Baptist that broke away. He considered the independent fundamental Baptists to not dislike Jews enough. He thought that he considers them to be Zionists. So he broke away from them and created the NIFB. So like the Matt Powells of the world.
So he looked down on most Baptists. He think they're not Jewish enough, and so. Oh, okay. So that was one of the fundamental disagreements he had, why he broke away from the IFBs. Okay, so he created an IFB. Yeah, as far as I know. I don't really know about all this history. It's so interesting. I really want to study on these type of
He to me, he's one of the most dangerous people on the planet, because through his propaganda, he's able to reach a lot more moderate Christians, a lot more moderate Baptists, I'd say. I know a lot of people in North Carolina that are not NIFB and don't hold to NIFB standards, but they love Steven Anderson because they don't see like some of his more hateful things that he says. They only see like the propaganda he puts out for that specific demographic of Baptist in that area. He's really smart about it, and he's very dangerous. Sounds like, yeah. Because I feel like when you take something to an extreme, it doesn't seem like it's from God. And honestly, like I feel like, one of the reasons I left Living Stream Ministry Church and also Mormon Church, of course, because a lot of things sometimes I feel like they take things into extreme. Just like Living Stream Ministry Church feel like
you can't you can't. So do you eat anything with blood?
Who, me? I love a good medium rare steak. I'm
No,
a bad lefty.
because in Asia we eat like pig blood, clotted pig blood in
Oh
Asia,
no,
and
no.
we eat like, you know, like the kind of very spicy duck blood. Like I don't know why people so love to eat that. And so like because my living room minister said that, oh, you cannot eat blood because none of the blood is clean unless it's Jesus blood. And also yeah, well living room ministry, sorry, I could be wrong. Living room ministry isn't too extreme, but yeah, Mormon church of course is. Yeah, but I feel like any person who wants to stand out, just like Steven Anderson, and want to make things extreme, and like I don't know. So somehow I feel like it would come off to me as like a false prophet, or just give me this very demonic feeling, like this person just try to start his own denomination. And so I'm not saying NIFB is wrong because I haven't dug into it, but I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, I can't do the rare bond. The texture of it, but I do like. I like some juices left, but
Wait. So
yeah.
in the restaurant you work, do you have steak?
Oh yeah.
So are you guys as employee able to eat things for free, like for your like staff meal or whatever? Like
No. Um, it depends on what I'm doing, whether or not I can. But most of them most people get like 50% off.
50% off, like half off.
Yeah, it's basically food costs. So you know whatever profits the restaurant's going to make, we don't make it off of our employees.
Okay, so do you order steak a lot when you work there?
Sometimes I prefer to cook it myself. I'm not a big person. I don't, you know, it's funny. I don't like, you know, I work in the restaurant business. I have off and on most of my life, but I don't really like other people cooking for me.
Yeah, because because you're smelling it every day. How are you able to eat that if you're smelling that? Even if it smells good, you're smelling it every day.
Oh, the smell of steak never goes bad to me. Like I am you know I'm a bad lefty.
I'm hungry now. Really?
Yeah, my daughter is too. She's ready for lunch. A late lunch today. It appears.
But Knock, you doesn't come off to me as the type of American that is like more traditional, more southern, more rude. You come off to me as actually kind of accepting international people. You know, like you're more friendly. You're friendly. You're not that type of hillbilly. Maybe because of your age, or maybe because I don't know. You have a child. You come off to me as some American that I would actually meet here and be like talking about random.
I appreciate that. I consider myself a secular humanist. I think I think all human beings we're essentially the same. We have the same motivations, the same wants. I think that we're all inherently good. We're all inherently bad. And I try not to be judgmental. You know, that becomes hard on my channel because I do a lot of combating with some what I consider to be really bad people. But usually, like I said, like if you come at me respectful, I'm going to give you that same respect back. I'm not going to look down on you because we had disagreements. And honestly, like the best way to influence people is to be as honest and nice as possible. So when I have a chance to actually be nice, not be a dick, not try to trap you, to me, those are the best conversations. But like I said, oftentimes I am the raging atheist. I put out these videos, Christians see it, so they come in with the perception and they come in combative right from the very beginning. You know, Smokey Saint, when he first approached me, it was just straight smack talking in the side chat. Had he not done that, had he approached me like you approached me, it'd probably be a totally different thing now, you know.
I feel like me type of personality can really get dig over in the US because I'm really nice.
Yeah, I think so.
Like you think people will be rude to me because I'm really nice. Like,
some people, yes, definitely, without a doubt. Some people would be super nice. It depends on the area you land in. Down in North Carolina, people are generally nice to your face, and then talk shit about you behind your back. Up here in Michigan, people are more blunt. So you know, if people have an issue with you, a lot of people will tell you what their issue is. It's one of the things I like about Michigan.
They're not like, at
huh?
least they're not stabbing you at the back.
Yeah. I mean, I prefer honesty. You know, if you have an issue with me, tell me about it. I might not like it. It might piss me off, but I'll get over that. You know.
Your red hat. Remove that.
Yeah. So say what? My hat?
No. Yeah.
You know, I'm always conflicted when I wear this hat. For one, it's red, so people like automatically assume it's a Trump hat. But then they see it's a Hogwarts hat. And while I love Harry Potter, I do struggle with the author. So
did you vote for Trump?
No. Oh no, neither time. I'm a lefty.
So you voted for Joe Biden?
Yes, and I voted for Hillary Clinton before that.
Oh, okay.
I'm a Bernie guy. You know, I wanted Bernie to win against Hillary. I wanted Bernie to win against Joe.
Bernie Sanders.
Yeah.
Oh,
I worked for for the campaign the first time around.
Comedian Sarah Silverman was like speaking for Bernie Sanders, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think she's a Bernie person.
Yeah, because
just you can go ahead. I just gotta tell my daughter something, so I'll still be hearing you.
Okay. Yeah, because I was watching Sarah Silverman's stand-up comedy, and you know, there's some videos by like recommended videos that just come up, and I just saw like Sarah Silverman speaking like in one of Bernie's campaign or whatever. Yeah, but
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, I have super deep grievances against the Democratic Party right now for their treatment of Bernie. I think they cheated Bernie in 2016. They cheated him again here in 2020. You know, I think Joe Biden is doing decent, but definitely not doing enough. And I despised Donald Trump. I thought he's the worst president we've ever had.
Okay, so one more question for you, Knock. Did you get vaccinated?
Yes.
Which one? Johnson? Moderna?
It's I got the Pfizer.
Pfizer's. Oh, same as my family. Okay, cool. Did you guys have AstraZeneca, Sputnik, Sinovac?
I haven't heard. I've only heard of the three: Moderna, Pfizer, and Johnson and Johnson. We might have more, but that's the only three that I've heard of here.
We have Sinovac, we have AstraZeneca, we have Pfizer, we have Sputnik. I think it's from Russia. And you know, in China, they have their own. Because I was talking to my Chinese colleague, I was like, "So did you get vaccinated or not?" And I said, and she said, "Oh yeah, I got vaccinated." I said, "Oh, so what type of vaccine did you get? Did you get AZ?" And she was like, "What is AZ?" And she just told me she got she just sent me a chart, and it was like Beijing lab. And there's like 4 type of like, I've never heard of the vaccine, but it was in Chinese. But it was weird, huh? Like different countries develop different vaccines.
Yeah. Like I said, I haven't. The only ones I've even researched were those 3 that I talked about.
Did you get any negative side effects after you got Pfizer?
Yeah, the first one I was really tired. The second one was worse for me. I was out of it for a good, I don't know, probably 36 hours.
Out of it meaning you were sleeping?
No, I felt like crap.
So do you think every vaccine, regardless of whether it's COVID or not, would be like that, or is it because of the COVID vaccine being more? I think we as humans, we all kind of react a bit differently depending on our individual biologies. But I think when you're talking about something like a vaccine, you know, I can't remember experiencing. I'm not sure. I don't think I got a smallpox, polio. I think that was before my time. But I imagine something as strong as a vaccine is not going to. I mean, there's going to be, you know, something that comes along with that. You know, you're going to have some kind of side effects immediately. So when you got vaccine, like for smallpox when you were younger, did you get?
I'm not sure. I can't remember if I that might have been before my time. I can't remember if I did or not. Maybe I did.
Wait,
I
wait.
got
So
vaccines like everybody else did,
I
so maybe
think
I did.
people that get smallpox vaccine would get smallpox afterwards, like for 2 days or 3 days, right? And then
I'm not sure.
afterwards, they will not get smallpox again. Am I correct?
I'm not sure. I
Because
know
now, yeah.
I know like in the old way that they did vaccines, which I believe Johnson and Johnson is based off of the old way they did it. That they did use a bit of the actual virus to combat the virus. So it wouldn't surprise me. I'm just not sure if that's I've never looked into it.
Okay, cool. So if you don't mind, can I ask you, is your ex-wife also a Christian? And um,
I don't have an ex-wife, but my daughter's mother was, yeah, she was and is a Christian. Yeah.
okay, cool.
Most of the women I've dated throughout my life, whether it's like been a serious relationship or just a casual dating relationship, almost
Are
every single
Christian.
one of them have been Christian. I've dated a couple Wiccans. I dated a Native
You
American
have a lot of
spiritualist.
Muslim near there because you know what, Muslim women here are so obedient and nice. Well, like they're so wifey materials. I feel so like I feel like because Malay guys and Malay women here are all Muslim, and it is Chinese people like us that are. I'm not Malaysian, but it is Chinese that are Buddhist or sometimes Christian, and Indians sometimes are Hindu or Christian. But like those Muslim women, they're so pretty and they're so like soft spoken, like gentle. Like they're not. I don't know. Like I feel like, and those like especially Muslim toilets actually like toilets in Muslim country actually always are clean and smell good. But yeah, but I don't
My
know.
toilet's always immaculate. I'm obsessed.
I can tell you, like, you guys think that Muslim are some killer character. I can tell you how soft spoken the Muslim women here are, and they're so gorgeous. They're gorgeous.
I
I
don't.
don't.
I think Islam is an atrocious religion. But I don't think that it automatically breeds killers. We do have here in Dearborn, just a little bit north of me. It's dominant Muslim immigrants. A lot of Muslim refugees, a lot of Muslim immigrants, and yeah, no, they're cool people. I've known quite a few
So now,
really cool Muslims.
have you ever met a Malaysian American?
I'm not sure.
Indonesian
I
American.
work with a lot of Burmese. I'm not sure if Burma is
Oh,
Malaysian.
Burmese? Oh, my
Yeah,
dad was born in Burma. He
yeah.
grew up there until 20.
At the at Denso, the automotive factory that I used to work for, I'd say probably 30% of the workforce there is Burmese. In fact, I'm most of the people that live in my apartment buildings are Burmese.
Yeah, and a lot of Chinese people during Japanese bombing time also, especially if they're in the southern part of China, like southern west south, they would move to
Mm.
now it's called Myanmar, but at the time it was called Burma. They would fled there,
Mm.
and so
Yeah, that's
especially
what the people I was working with back then. Yeah, they were fleeing a war. I can't remember who they were fighting, but
Japanese, right?
yeah, they were like refugees. You know, they came here fleeing a war
Well,
and got
are they
asylum.
Chinese? Are they Myanmar born Chinese, or are they Burmese?
I think they're Burmese.
They're not Burma born Chinese.
I don't think so, but I'm not. It's been a while since I worked at I haven't worked there in a few years. But yeah, most of the people in the factory sector here in Battle Creek, a good chunk of that workforce is
Do
Burmese.
they apply for some screen on their face, like some screen?
No, a lot of them are. You see them at the liquor store. They like to drink. I'll put it
Oh,
that way.
okay, they probably are westernized.
Yeah, they like to
I
drink.
saw this Burmese people when I was in Thailand. I saw because I went to like play with elephants, and I saw this so those people that are the elephant guy sitting because I wouldn't do it anymore. I was riding elephants, But also I signed up this program to take shower for elephant, but I was too scared because I saw all these people in front of me. They all get thrown into the river because they were riding on elephant, trying to scrub the elephant's back, and the elephant would throw them into the river. I was so scared. I saw these Burmese people. They all apply some cream, like some yellow looking cream on their face. So I don't know if it's a Burmese type of a sunscreen or something, but I saw that they're applying like cream on face. And honestly, like I miss traveling. I wish COVID is over with soon. I think I'm a weird character. I hate taking airplanes, but I love traveling. Like I just love traveling. And honestly, the USA isn't that much attractive for me at all. Just because of the crime rate and also because of the gun violence. So because if I were to travel to the US, of course I would start from major cities, right? So honestly, like because of that, it was off for me. Otherwise, I really was interested in freaking Yosemite, freaking Yellowstone. Like I was interested. Yeah.
There's a lot of good land to visit here, and not every city is a bad city. In fact, most cities, I think, just normal people going about their lives. I don't think you'd find issues unless you found yourself in the wrong spot in a city. But there is this definite sentiment here. Hopefully, it's starting to go away now. The longer that Trump is gone. But there has been this anti-Asian sentiment. Yeah.
But hey, wait, this is off topic. But when I was last time when I went to the U.S., I was on Delta from I think Los Angeles, San Francisco to O'Hare. I honestly, the internal flights in the U.S. I never imagined it was this crappy. Like it was really like I don't know. Firstly, the service didn't come off to me as good, and then it was really like I think it was a one way plane, and it was a very bumpy flight. Because honestly, I feel like whether a flight being bumpy or not has a lot to do with the pilot's technique, and it was bumpy. It was very bumpy. Honestly, yeah. Sorry, this is off topic, but.
Yeah, well, I've actually enjoyed it. We were on topic for a bit, and we've gotten a bit off topics, but I've thoroughly enjoyed the conversation, and yeah, maybe the next time, we'll have a more definitive topic because it was just kind of general. Let's get to know each other. I met you a couple days ago on a stream.
Yeah, but hey, Knock, would you want to take your daughter to travel overseas? If she grew older or like whatever, like
I hope she does. I definitely want her to have culture and experience and see what the world has to offer.
But this is personal, but you can decide if you want to answer. So mostly I saw Americans that are divorced or separated, their children would be with their mom. So how come your daughter is with you instead of her mom?
I got full custody. There were particular circumstances at the time, but ultimately I won out in court. I probably had more resources than she did to work with.
Oh, so okay.
She comes from a more impoverished family than me. My father's he's got some money.
Okay, so was it because you were employed and you had means instead of her?
Well, it was also the situation. She at the time. It was safer for her to be with me than with her mother. Her mother was going through postpartum depression at the time.
And is she still going through depression now?
Oh no, she's part of her life. She sees her all the time.
Okay, so is your daughter your only child?
Yep.
Is your daughter her only child?
No.
Oh,
no.
Okay.
No, four more, I believe.
Oh, okay, so after you, 4 more.
Yeah, we've been separated for 10 years now.
Oh, okay, sorry. Does talking about it make you feel like bad memory was brought up?
No, not at all. There's there's some personal things that I'm not going to share. I got I've got Will Kincaid and Smokey Stain in the side chat. They are they like to talk about, they like to infer like they know anything about this moment that. So if I say too much, then they'll just run with it.
Okay, so my question is, do you guys still keep a good relationship? Are you guys communicative, or you guys are like pretty much in a pretty bad place like that?
Oh no, at first probably it was pretty toxic at first. She was definitely disappointed when she lost custody, but 10 years later now, no, we have a pretty good relationship. Um, haven't had an argument in a long time. Yeah,
But
no, it's been
but
pretty good.
but do you feel like maybe the fact that now she has more children outside from her first, do you feel like that sort of make her, and especially when your daughter wasn't really staying with her, do you feel like that made her focus more and actually put forth more caring efforts toward her other children?
I'm not sure. Maybe. I'm not positive. She was my roommate. Until about a year and a half ago. She was my roommate for a year, um, and she had a boyfriend at the time.
Wait, she was your roommate until a year and a half ago.
Yeah, about a year and a half ago, she moved out. Or maybe about a year ago. It was like right before the pandemic.
Okay, so you guys were actually on and off, like.
Well, no, we weren't together in any way. She was just my roommate.
Oh,
She
okay.
she needed a place to stay. I had an extra room, so I basically rented her the room.
Oh, okay, cool. Are you okay to share with this, or am I asking too much? This is
No,
too much
I
of
mean,
an interview?
well, for one, people are messed up and they use what they use. No, I have no issues talking about my past, and I think I think my past is important. I think everybody's past is important. I don't think people should run away from their past.
Okay, so oh, okay. So if chances were given to you, would you want to relocate outside of the US, or would you want to just, live in the US and die in the US?
Without a doubt, I would love to get out of the United States.
Seriously?
Oh yeah, yeah. I would love to. I
I
I,
can help you
I
with
would
it.
probably I would probably want to go to Norway just for the politics of the situation.
But
But
Norway is expensive,
ultimately,
huh?
like the place that I've always wanted to live is Greece, just because of the history.
But not oh, okay. Okay, but Greece is pretty much in a bad place economically speaking. Because you know what, Rage, if you were to relocate overseas, as per my analysis, you would be teaching if your job history, you can do business like like restaurant as well, but if you want to be employed instead of having your own business, most of the time you probably would be an English as a second language teacher. And so you will probably have to go to like Asian country where English is like more needed, like Japan, like Korea, so are you open to that options, or do you actually want to relocate to like more of a like Greece or Norway or whatever?
I mean, in reality, probably where I'm going to end up when my daughter's old enough is Oregon. I've got friends. I've got friends, lifelong friends that live out there that have been kind of wanting me to move out there uh,
Oregon?
for a while. Yeah, it's Washington State, I believe, but it's Washington State, Oregon area. I believe he might actually be in Oregon, but the whole Greece thing, yeah. Economically, I probably wouldn't want to live there now, but that's like always been the place that I wanted to. As a young kid,
Oh, a lot
I
of
loved the
Taiwanese
history
people
of
are
it,
traveling to
and
Greece.
yeah,
Yeah, a lot of Taiwanese people like to travel to Greece these days. I
yeah.
saw like many like I follow my Taiwanese friend that going to Greece, and I also saw. I think there was a one girl that I always bought clothes from. She also went to Greece. Yeah, a lot of Taiwanese people also like to go to Greece these days, and Taiwanese people love to go to Japan
I know
these.
I'm definitely tired of like American politics, the divisiveness here, some of the extreme bullshit that goes on. I definitely I would love to live, even if I ended up like in Britain or something, but just to have a completely different change of scenery, a change of history, a change of all around vibe. But I don't think if I were to ever like leave the country, that would be after my daughter's an adult. I would never want to take her away from her mother like that.
You're
And
amazing. You are amazing. Knock, do you know I have an American friend that her ex was Jezebel spirited, and I think she was maybe even mentally ill, but I mean, I don't know, but she didn't allow him to see their son after he turned, and he was very devout Christian. He was
Mhm.
very devout, but she wasn't. And so it was horrible. Like, I feel like for any parent to disallow your spouse or your, baby's daddy or baby's mommy to see your child, this is criminal. And and
I agree.
yeah, and even to relocate to a state that is really far from your baby daddy, baby mommy state, that is very wrong. And I don't understand why some, I feel like my impression on some white women, okay, sorry, I'm not gonna say white women, American women, they do that. They suddenly get evil, and I feel like this is what I see in some American women. It's like they would snap and they would like be borderline and they would just decide to be evil to you, because I seldom interact with Asian people like that. So I'm seeing like all these news talking about how some, some pathological lying woman just like saying that, oh, accuse you of raping me, where while that man didn't really rape her. I was like, how come these women are so evil? Like, because I personally, I cannot understand.
Well,
Like,
I think that a lot of those stories get blown out of proportion.
that's
We have
Jezebel's
a
spirit. That's Jezebel from the Bible. Jezebel
well,
does that. Jezebel.
maybe so I think that women
I
lying
think you
about
guys
being
are spoiling your
sexually
women.
harassed is very, very rare.
You guys need to spank your women. That what type of
No,
what? You know what? These type of
but
people.
we do people spank you?
No, Bill. My point is, I cannot believe I watch the news a lot because I was really, like I said, I was attacked by a Mormon, and she was Jezebel. And so I started to notice the traits of Jezebel people. It's like they got trauma in their childhood, and they cannot help but lie. They cannot help but lie, because sometimes some people, when they're lying, it's more innocent, because like me, for example, if I were to lie, it was because my mouth is faster than my brain, and so I blur out things. It doesn't come from me being maliciously, malevolently want to lie. But some women, they just lie. I cannot believe how I watched the news and I saw, like, pathological lying person. Like, I feel like okay, Jeffrey Dahmer and Ted Bundy might be really pathologically sick, but honestly, he probably was OCD to the head, that he had to freaking dissect freaking bodies, but he still apologized. So he wasn't, well, he was still evil, but he wasn't lying. I feel like some women, their capabilities of like some, at least what I saw was Western women, they lie and just said that. Like, I was following this 60-minute Australia, this show. I saw this Australian woman named Sarah Jane Parkinson. Go, you go freaking Google her. I feel like I cannot believe there are people that just oh, okay, sorry, yeah, I might be a little too agitated. Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
no, you're fine. I think that there is this misconception. There is a political party that promotes this narrative, and I'm going to call it a narrative because
This
that's
is
what it
not
is.
political. This is
Well, no,
romantic.
I can see why you would think it's not, but it has become politicized here, and so when it comes to like people lying, people lie. You don't have to be a man or a woman. Men here lie to their women all the time. I've worked in management for several years. Almost every single manager that I know is married and tries to have sex with their employees. Every single one of them. Like
And they're
every
all
single one of them. So if you're talking about a Jezebel spirit or this misconception that women are lying about their sexual assaults, which that narrative is out there, but if you actually look at the statistics, that is very rare. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but it's very rare. Usually, when women are speaking about sexual harassment or assault, it is something that happened to them personally. But as when it comes to the ability to lie, everybody can do this.
So I
Everybody.
have two questions. One question is, why does your managers trying to have sex with women outside from their marriage had anything to do with this? Second question is,
Well,
why?
just to the nature of the ability to lie or be deceitful or to be morally irresponsible. If you're talking about a Jezebel spirit that overcomes people, that causes women to do bad things, I'm saying by my experience, I don't really see women in committed relationships. I'm sure it happens, but not on the level that I see just men blatantly trying to go outside of their relationship.
Okay, so this is the second question. Why do you think these men wanting to like cheat on their wife? Do you think they're sexually like? Do you think like? Because honestly, I feel like it's an American thing. It's a Japanese thing as well. Japanese people cheat all the time. But I'm saying like, why do you think people like? Do you think it's because they? Do you think it's because their spouse like is aging and it's not attractive anymore? Do you think it's because they want to seek some excitement? Like, what do you think is the general reason that people
Me personally, I don't think human beings are made for one-on-one relationships. I think that our minds stray. We get tired. We get tired of the same person.
Okay,
I think that's why divorce is so dominant, even in religious communities. Religious people can somehow justify that it's okay for them to divorce, even though their holy text tells them there's not. There's a whole bunch of doctrine that they'll put into it.
God sanctioned the divorce because if a guy started to not be Christ-like and going against whatever the Bible is teaching, then divorce, and whatever this wife does is like this guy's being abusive. Like the divorce, I believe is allowed, and sometimes God does sanction divorce. But I think it's interesting when you said that you don't believe that human beings are made into go into a one-on-one relationship. That's why if I were to have a son, I would, what I would do is I would teach him all the Christian concept, but I feel like guys, like your genitals still want to tell you to, go and explore. And so if I had a son, like I feel like I thought of this question, like I wouldn't have to force on him saying that, oh, you just have to have son, the correct way of doing marriage is that you just have to I would teach him no marriage before sex. But if I feel like his hormones were like telling him to do something otherwise, I would pretend that I'm not seeing all this, and allow him to explore. But at the same time, of course, before that, I would teach him all the stuff about safety. What's that?
This is like my greatest fear. My daughter's getting to that. She's 11. So here in the next couple years, it's everything's going to change, and her body's going to be telling her things, and I want her to just focus on school, worry about boys after college. But this is like my nightmare is slowly approaching. I used to say, I want her to stay 2 forever, because 2, man, that's that perfect age. She loves her dad, and she's not going to grow up, and she's not going to date, and I'm not going to have to go kill somebody.
Teach teenager about masturbating, because if honestly, like, just to be like, we're all adults over here, like stop being like flushing and stuff. Like, think about this. It is better to touch yourself than to get pregnant by at a younger age. It is better.
I agree.
It is better to know the way to have a freaking outlet than to freaking get knocked up by some high school sweetheart, right? Like,
I see that as completely natural, and just my experience growing up as a boy. I was probably already doing that at her age. Another thought that just scares the hell out of me. But I think that a lot of these religions repress that. They whether they call it a sin, or they see it as some kind of dirty deed, when in actuality it is just natural. And if I actually agree. I think if you teach your children, if you don't freak out on your children when you catch them doing it. Like, I can remember the first time my stepmom caught me doing it, she freaked out on me. And I think that that's bad, because then your religion is pretty much telling them that you're only supposed to do that with your wife. Then they'll rush into an early marriage just so they can have sex because that's what they really want. Then they're trapped in this marriage with somebody that they don't really like that much. They just wanted to have sex with them.
Okay, so yeah, that's why I think no church should push an agenda, especially though this Mormon church does definitely like to do, to tell people to marry early. Because I feel like, you know what you said about men are not made for one-on-one, that's wrong. I feel like that's because those people don't get the chance to explore prior to finding the one that they truly want to marry and get settled down. I feel like a person should be allowed to explore so that this I mean explore as in, like, of course on the surface we're still gonna teach no sex before marriage, but when we feel like people are trying to still like go against that, like under the table or whatever, like we're not, like, as parents, I won't so I won't say anything, but I would try my best to teach my children about safe sex. But you know what? Yeah, I would have to agree with what you said about women and men are human beings are not made for one-on-one, and I believe that's because a lot of church like to push an agenda to have people marry really early, and to make people feel like you're not allowed to explore, and so
I think that I think that the way we work, we are really good in short, very personable, very one-on-one relationships. But eventually, that kind of corrodes. Like, for one, marriages just don't last as long as they used to. But even when they were used to last forever, if you talk to somebody that has been married their entire lives, an old person who's been married to the same person their entire life, they'll straight up tell you that takes work. That's not easy. There was times when we couldn't stand each other and we had to overcome so much to be here today. And I think that's because, that's what we have to do to make those situations work. Human beings are naturally just going to get tired of each other after a time. I'm going to grow a certain way. You're going to grow a certain way. And oftentimes that's not going to be the same way. We're going to branch apart and become distant.
So do you feel like you got tired of your ex?
I've never been married. Never. I've had a couple girls try to get me to that place. There's been one woman that I wanted to marry.
Trying to get you to that place. Oh man, this is the man's narrative. Girls trying to get you.
I've never ran from that. I've never believed in the tradition of marriage. I don't believe that I own a person or they own me. I don't own half their shit. They don't own half of mine. But there was one woman that I did want to marry at one point, and it just didn't work out.
Okay, so do you believe that this is your fate, that you're in your
oh yeah, I don't think at this point in my life I'll never be married.
So I feel like so you feel like, no, I mean, like, do you think it's your fate that you met your ex-girlfriend and you had a child? And so do you believe in fate? Because you don't believe in God, right? So do you believe in fate?
No, I mean, I think I used to, especially back when I was a believer. I thought that God made me to be a writer. But no, I don't think I believe in fate. It would really depend on what you mean by fate. But so if you mean by some design scheme for me, no, I don't think so. I think that
I'm not talking about divine scheme. I'm talking about just destiny. Just like how, like, people believe that, oh, you were born you were born to be with, like, like, people talk about new age people like to talk about the universe. Like, do you believe it's the universe that brought you to where you are now?
No, I mean, yeah. So spiritual people will talk of the universe in a very different way than I did. I mean, I guess in a way you could look at the universe and say, yes, the universe brought me to the position that I'm in because I exist within the confines of that universe. But no, I don't believe that there's like a destiny, right? Like, I don't think that Stephen King, when he was born, had a destiny that he was going to become the greatest writer of all time, my opinion. But, but that's just something that he found he was really good at, and he worked at that, maybe became obsessed with that because that was his great passion in life. I think that we as human beings, we find what we enjoy, and then we find things that we don't. And I think that in order to really believe in a destiny or a fate, that really requires a creator in that scenario, and I just don't have one.
So you don't believe in God, you don't believe in the destiny, you don't believe in the universe,
Yeah,
you believe in
I'm
science,
completely naturalist. I
naturalist.
don't believe in the supernatural. I would deem like fate or destiny as somewhat supernatural, I think.
Do you feel like do you have like deja vu when you're doing this with me? Because like I previously said, I feel like I met you somewhere with your avatar doing this. I like do you feel any of this is this familiar or no, or you
Uh,
don't feel?
I mean, in some ways, I find you interesting, and you said some things that I might not have heard from other Christians, but I do find, some of these, I've talked to so many people on this at this point that, yeah, there's some familiarity there. Like when you speak to like specific feelings of deja vu, that of course that's something that I've experienced. But like when I dissect it in my mind, when I kind of break it down, it'll often be like a very similar experience that I had a dream about that I remembered vividly, or oftentimes situations in our lives repeat. So if I'm feeling a feeling of deja vu because I'm in a certain situation, if I really apply my mind and my memory to it, I can usually find a situation in my past that was very similar that would spark that kind of feeling. Hey, I'm reliving this again, and I kind of am in a way, because we often as humans, I think, exist in patterns.
So is it possible that God actually is there, but it is just that he doesn't intervene? Just as when you had your ankle injury, he didn't intervene to soften your dad's heart to have you do the surgeries. Is it possible that God is actually there, but he just intervene as he likes? He doesn't intervene all.
Um,
Is it
I'd say
possible?
6 months ago, I would have said yes, that's possible. Now I kind of see it as an impossibility. I don't see any reasons to think that it's a possibility because I haven't been able to experience
Okay,
it.
so what happened to you 6 months ago that would make you say yes?
I've just quite honestly, interactions with certain types of theists that have been very negative have given me a more negative out view on theism in
Okay,
general.
so now that I give you positive image, like at least compared to some other theists that you met, so do you feel like there's a possibility that you would believe that God is there? He just doesn't intervene in every scenario?
I mean, it's possible that you're an enjoyable human. I'll put it that way. It's like
It's not possible, it's
you
affirmative.
definitely believe you believe what you believe in, and I enjoy you as a person. But no, it doesn't really kind of sway me on that. You know, to me saying that,
Did you hear my question?
oh yeah, I'm getting, so to me, to say that God exists but he's just not intervening, or he's kind of sitting outside of space-time, and it's that the argument of absence, right? So an absent God to me is the same exact thing as a non-existent God. If it's not intervening, if it's not interfering, if it's not somehow part of the interactions of this world, then it's a meaningless conversation anyway.
Or maybe Satan's power has grown really strong. As you know, you probably heard Christians saying Satan is the god of this world. So maybe Satan was the one that didn't get you to do the surgery or whatever. Like, or maybe because that was used as a technique to stop you from believing in God. Like, do you believe that could be a technique? That could be a strike from the spiritual warfare from the enemy to make you stumble and not believe in God. Is there a possibility?
Well, I think that puts way too much importance on me as an individual. Like I'm going to do something
No,
that
no, 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 no. Because it's really difficult.
a deity
Yeah.
figure such as Satan, it feels like he needs to sabotage my life so it doesn't happen. No, I don't think that. Me personally, to me, there's this absolutely 0% chance that Satan or God was doing anything to influence what happened to me in my ankle. What happened to me in my ankle was I played football from the fourth grade. When I was between
You did
15 and
that?
16, I went from I was 5'2" when I was 15. By the time I'm 16 years old, I'm 6'4". So I had this really like I became this very tall, very big person. So in football, people were hitting me in my knees and in my ankles. That weakened my ankles. So eventually, playing football and basketball over a number of years, that ankle just went. I don't think that God or Satan had anything to do with it. I think that I, as a human being, had placed hopes and aspirations on my ability, and when that was taken away, I experienced a very human reaction to that.
But maybe it was God's protection over your life, such as, like Kobe Bryant, like he died in a helicopter crash. And, like how, like people saying, like there's a Twitter account that predicted his death, and how there's an advertisement, TV advertisement, he was put in that actually also predicted his death. I think he himself also predicted his death. Maybe it was, maybe it was God's protection for. Yeah, I know you are saying that that put too much stress upon you as a person, but it definitely did influence on your life, like make you feel like you didn't really God didn't really realize your dream, and somehow you later stray away and fell into commit some crime.
Well,
And
definitely. So I think definitely when you're raised your entire life and you're told that your prayers matter, that God is listening to your prayers, and if you're sitting in that bed and you're praying with all of your might, and that God doesn't answer it, I think that goes a long way to naturally cause you to doubt. I think it's one of the flaws within religion, because you're basically.
so that was what you experienced, like you kneel by the bed and then
Oh
God did.
I talked about that. Yeah, I would sit up at night and I would pray. Please make me a better person, make me a better son, make me a better Christian. I'm doing, I'm drinking, I'm drugging, I'm doing a bunch of psychedelics. I'm clearly out of control here. My dad put me in 5 different rehabs, trying to get me off of the drugs. Eventually, when I went to prison, I landed in. I was in prison for about a year, and then they sent me to an in-house rehabilitation center, to where I did the last year and a half of my sentence, in a place called Right Turn, that was just really hardcore drug rehabilitation for inmates. There was this whole process that when the religion props up and tells you God is listening, God cares, and God, if you just truly believe God is going to be there when God isn't, I think the natural thing for us humans, that is what naturally propelled me into a real level of doubt that this thing exists. Now, it took years after that for me to get to the conclusion that it doesn't exist. It was a long process because there was so much indoctrination there. And even still, 20 years later, I still find myself backsliding. I still find all of these little latent Christian beliefs that I have that I don't recognize until it comes up. I can recognize it, spot it, and then start trying to work my way around it.
So knock. So if you were to had your ankle surgery at the time, and your prayers were somehow answered by God, you think you would still be a Christian till this day?
Maybe it's a possibility, but I still think that just the nature of myself. I've always liked to read, so I think eventually I would read some of the books, because there were some books that I read that really led me away from traditional belief in Christ. Holy Blood, Holy Grail, which would have been the book that really started the controversy between Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code. But then, just other books talking about the pillars of Judaism and how all of these different messiahs were walking around. I really started to study the Essenes and some of their more fundamental views. I read the Gospel, the Gnostic Gospels. So I think eventually I probably would have still went along that natural path of intrigue and really studying the Bible out of the context of the indoctrinations that I had. I think ultimately I probably would have still become an atheist, but I will grant the possibility, if it does appear that God is answering your prayers in that moment, that would go a long way to fermenting that belief for the rest of my life.
Well, then basically you're just like you're saying the opposite, because you said that you don't believe in destiny, but somehow you're saying that you still felt like you will be led to become an atheist. So in a way, that's destiny as well.
Well, no, I'm talking about just the natural progression that my life, my life happened, so I can look back on it and say, no, I think I still probably would have read that book. I probably still would have done a deep dive into the Bible like I did. I still would have read the Bhagavad Gita, the Seven Pillars of Zen. I would have been naturally I would have naturally been curious about other religions. Like I said, once I found out, or I haven't told you, but like we kind of talked about my Native American heritage. I was raised as a white person. When I found out that I had Native American heritage, and I first started approaching my mom about our heritage and you know how we came to be where we've gotten to be, I became fascinated with that universal religion, you know, like fascinated with it. I did a name changing ceremony in Cherokee, North Carolina. I've been through so many different
Okay, so
ceremonies.
you're not that much of a naturalist anyway, right?
At that time I would have been, but now I think definitely I have come over 20 years to the conclusion that I don't believe in the supernatural. I think naturalism can explain 99.9% of the things that we observe. The small, minute fraction of things that we don't yet understand, I think naturalism eventually will.
And this has to go back to our in the beginning of our talk. So all my four friends, including my Thai friend, my Japanese friend, and two of my Taiwanese housemate, and my sister, they all saw something strange, like really like materialistically there. Like, so are you saying that they were just experiencing their superstitions in their head? They're not experiencing a supernatural phenomenon or demonic attack?
I'm not sure. You know, there's no way for me to possibly know the motivations, thoughts of another human being. There's no way for any of us to know that about anybody else. I can't look at my daughter as well as I know her and know what she's thinking, know what's going on inside of her head. So no, my personal belief is I've never experienced that. You know, and again, like I have to keep going to it. We do live in a different world now to where every single person has the capability. I mean, not everybody, but the vast majority of people have the capability of pulling out their cell phone, push and play on that recorder, and recording this phenomena. If it's a real phenomena, if the human eyes can see it, that camera's going to see it. Right. But we don't get that. What we do get is a lot of stories from people. I try not to dismiss their personal experiences, but it goes absolutely nowhere with me as an individual because I haven't experienced it.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, but you know, I was pretty fascinated by their story as well. Like this Japanese girl, she was telling.
I love stories. I love hearing the individual stories.
Yeah, she was telling me how she was in high school, and she was saying like there was a scary woman standing. Are you scared?
Oh no, I'm about to smoke again.
Oh, okay. She was telling me how like
I'm actually gonna smoke the good stuff this time.
Oh, what's the good stuff?
Oh yeah, weed.
Cigar?
Mary Jane.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I think a lot of Asian that moved to the US would end up smoking weed because I have a Thai friend that went there to study, and I asked her, so have you ever tried smoking weed? And she said, oh yes. And so, and I don't know, like I feel like a lot of Asian people ended up being Americanized, and then just and you know don't and yeah, picking up a lot of bad habits as well. But yeah, but I don't know, like I feel like yeah, like this Japanese girl, she was telling me how she was like, because she's like 41 now, and she told me when she was in high school, she just saw like a really creepy woman, and like standing by her book study, and was like having a like triangular shape or whatever. Like it was very weird. Like I don't know why like people around me, like some people around me can get this like really odd supernatural experience. Well, you know, I mean, I'm glad that it did not happen on me, but I'm just thinking like, oh, okay, so you know, like somehow like things happening in the world seem to be telling us that, you know, there are things that cannot explain, but you know, like, you know, since people can't believe in ghosts, then how can people not believe in God? You know, people can believe in the existence of, you know, some demonic stuff or some haunted house, spooky stuff. Then you can believe in all this like shenanigan from some like weird I don't know, like spiritual realm or whatever, then how come you never believe in a higher presence? Like I feel like people in my country, some of them believe in ghosts, but they don't believe in God. And so
Well, I think that that's possible because the phenomena or humans believing in, thinking that they're seeing ghosts come from our very ancient primordial days as a species. Before we had religion, we had wolves. Wolves were uh, a bane on humankind for the longest period of time, and you know we had. We had darkness back then. Now we have lights everywhere. But if you were sitting at your fire, well, you would have light by that fire, but everything outside is night and it's darkness and it's scary, and you didn't know what was out there. You thought it could be demons, it could be spirits, it could be witches. This is the supernatural roots that human beings have had for 200,000 years, well before God ever came into it. God is really a fairly modern conception of humankind on the on the grand landscape of the human history. It's, I think, recently, we could probably go back as far as 10,000 years, and you'd start to see the structuring of a religion, of a God practice, or the practice in several gods. A lot of those practices at the very beginning would have been darker practices, sacrifices, whether they be human or animal, to appease the gods. But ultimately, humans have experienced ghost phenomena, since our most primitive days, and a lot of that was superstitions that the more light we have put into the world, the more science, the more technology, the smaller our world has gotten. I'm speaking to you right now. You're in Malaysia. I'm here in the States. This world, that would have never happened even a couple 100 years ago, 100 years ago, right? So this world gets smaller. So it is that classic kind of like God of the gap scenario, to where as we just know more about the natural world, all of those supernatural beliefs that we've always had become easier and easier to dispel.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I just noticed that you put my last name on the YouTube title. Now that everybody know what my last name is, all right, it's okay. But do you know that Chinese?
I'm not. Yeah. Which name do you like, and I'll change it after. Because the way that your email came, I thought Candace was your name, but then your email came, and I'm like, oh, I'm not sure now.
Chinese last name is in front, whereas
okay.
Chinese last name could be
my pure ignorance here.
No, so just take the Lu away and just keep the Candace.
Yep, I'll definitely do that. No problem.
Yeah. When many Americans speak to me, they're like, "Oh, so is your first name Lu and your last name is Candace?" But because Korean and Chinese names all like put the last name in front and first name at the back, and so yeah.
I didn't know that. No, that's interesting.
Yeah, and yeah, and I feel like, but honestly, like, well, yeah, but I feel like for people to believe in God, it really is for his or her own. Most of the time, from my standard, from my perspective, it's for his and home benefits, because it's like God is gonna give you blessings and fruits. I mean, there's gonna be trials and tribulation thrown your way as well. It's gonna be bumps on the road. Doesn't mean like you're gonna be tipped through the tulip. But hey, I just feel like my English has been improving so much after talking to you guys. So yeah, so it's not gonna be necessarily always a smooth path just because you follow Jesus, but definitely it's very rewarding, and you know what, and honestly, like for us to even still be breathing and living while a lot of people pass away during the pandemic, including my own dad, even if he didn't die because of COVID, but he died because of brain cancer. But anyway, like there's a lot of people that die because of COVID. And there's also a lot of people that somehow, it seems that especially in their 60 die due to different multiple reasons, just like this, like Nigerian quote unquote prophet, like Joshua, TB Joshua. I don't know if you've ever heard of his name. Like I was like watching his preaching and stuff. He was very like prophetic and stuff, like an anointed and stuff. And he was like pretty prophetic. and he died. And yeah,
You
it
said
was,
TB Joshua.
yeah, TB Joshua, because
I always like finding prophetic people. I enjoy it. It's kind of a little passion.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, because his church building got like attacked, got like hit by a drone or something like in 2014. And I was also I was also like researching on the news, and like I feel like just a lot of people died during this pandemic, and we're still alive. And so I feel like it's a blessing to be breathing. I mean, it's not so bad as a Christian if you die. Like, I really thought that, like, if you were to ask me 5 years ago, I thought that I would be ended up bawling in my dad's funeral. I thought I would be like a cry person, a cry baby. That's just like, how, like, one thing about Western funeral and Chinese funeral, well, I would put it this way: Christian funeral and Buddhist funeral. In freaking Buddhist funeral, people have to hire somebody to cry. People have to freaking, and especially there's a funeral tradition in Taiwan where people would pay for like strippers to dance on like a electric, like a truck, like a pickup truck, and they're standing on the pickup truck, and there would be electric song playing, and some people would hire those type of funeral, just to make your funeral look like you are, like there's a lot being put into it. And there are even some, so there's some like younger teenage, there are even some people that would hire people to cry on behalf of, for example, if a parent, if an older gentleman died but he didn't have a child. I think in Taiwanese tradition, some people would hire like a younger person to fake crying. And there was specifically one thing. Okay, so this is off topic, but anyway, my point is, Christian funeral people are very reserved, and they're not like crying like just like how American funeral people are crying, but they're sobbing. They're not like crazily crying. But I saw this Buddhist funeral, they all like bawling, like, dad, mom. And especially this time when my dad was, because in Taiwan is very small, so you're allowed to only be, only cremation is allowed. Like, no more burials are allowed. And so when my dad's bodies in his coffin was about to send to be cremated, my grandma on my mom's side, who was a Buddhist, was like, oh, so later you have to tell your dad to run. You have to run, because you know why she wanted me to tell my dad to run, because there's sort of like a tradition where people would ask the, when, because I witnessed the moment when my dad's coffin was put into the cremation like a stove. And so most Taiwanese people would there's a tradition which people would have to say, run, 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 fire is coming, run, because people think that, because fire is very hot, right? So just imagine you as a living person being put into the stove and being burnt to death. That's really painful, right? And so I feel like Chinese people just have this idea of how, like, you have to tell even that person is dead, but you have to tell this person to run and hurry up and go reincarnate it, so that you're not gonna get burned. But you know what? That moment, I saw some people, they're crying so bad, like, because the cremation spot was like, am I doing too much of a small talk?
Oh no. I'm gonna have to probably cut this at 3, but no, I find it fascinating. My experience with funerals here is they're deeply religious. People, I don't understand Christian mourning, because
You don't think mourning? You're an American.
yeah, well, I don't understand the process of mourning if you truly think that this person is going to be with God now. And I've also commented, it seems to me like every time somebody dies, people think that they're going to heaven. So it's like everybody that dies is going to heaven, and I don't think that I don't think that that's necessarily true. I think that there's some self delusion there. Since becoming an atheist, like, going to religious funerals has become harder and harder for me. I think that's probably something that will continue on in my life.
You should appreciate that because it's very peaceful and quiet and elegant. And in Asia, in Taiwan, it's
not my family funerals, man. They get wild and lots of crying and I don't know. It's kind of weird.
Seriously, you guys cry?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you guys are white. You guys do cry like that, like.
Yeah. Yeah, I cried at my mom's funeral several times.
What happened
but
to your mom?
I never understood it. Like the thing that I don't understand, like I talk to Christians a lot, and they'll justify like the God of the Old Testament, a lot of his actions, especially when it comes to like ordering the murder of babies, and they'll say, well, those babies automatically go to heaven, so it's okay. And it's like it's what I kind of don't understand is like, so if you truly believe in this Christian God and you truly believe that this person is going to heaven, I don't understand why you're sad about the death. If you think that one, they're literally going to be like in the presence of God now. I don't see why Christians don't celebrate funerals. Instead, they mourn during them.
Yeah, that's true. Well, but it is still difficult because you're somebody that's always with you. So what happens to your mom?
Naturally human emotion, definitely, without a doubt. But I think it does speak to naturally humans are just humans, and naturally we react the way that we do because fundamentally, just instinctually, we understand we're never going to see that person again, and it makes us sad, and it's a very natural thing. So I guess what I'm saying is I think that people believe they believe that they believe in these things until these situations happen where that natural human comes out of them, and you can see no, they understand I'm not going to see this person again. They'll tell themselves, I'll see them in heaven, but no, you can see their raw pain in those moments.
No, but you know what? If you were a Christian that actually put Ezekiel chapter 37 in your heart, you would celebrate. The hand of the Lord was upon me, and he brought me out by the Spirit of the Lord and set me in the middle of a valley. It was full of bone. He had me back and forth among them, and I saw a great many bones on the floor of the valley, dry, bones that were very dry. So I feel like I've just had this vision at the back of my head how when God said, "Arise," and dry bones would just be like coming into life, and that and how and I also was very imaginative. Like I feel like when I thought of like God said, breathe into the Spirit, and I breathe into the Spirit, I just feel like God was like, and then like those dry bones would just be like coming to life. Like I just had this vision at the back of my head. I don't know why, but anyway, going back to the topic, my grandma said, "You got to tell your dad to run. You got to tell your dad to run." And I just saw some people by my side were crying because their family member also was pushing into the cremation stove, and they were like. They were bowing. They were doing bowing because their Buddhist funeral. I think the Buddhist funeral undertaker was like, okay, first bow, and they were bowing, and second bow, and they were all crying and bowing. And I was like, oh my gosh, like thank God that I chose the Christian undertaker, Christian funeral undertaker instead of Buddhist, because there's the Buddhist that we can choose. There's also the Christian, but. Wait, am I talking too much?
No, I was trying to kind of like just interject quickly, and I had my mute button on. And I was just gonna say, like, I'm assuming, these are theistic Buddhists. Like, here, I'm not even sure how dominant it would be over there, but over here, we definitely have some atheistic Buddhists. I used to consider myself to be an atheistic Buddhist myself. I'm getting a phone call, but yeah. Cool.
Yeah, so this is to the audience because Rage is speaking on the phone. But so my grandma was just like, oh, so because it was really heartbreaking because I saw my dad being pushed into the cremation stove, and I really thought that I would end up being bawling. But the fact that I have become a spiritually mature Christian, I don't feel as sad as I thought I would. I feel like I believe we will meet again, not the Mormon way, not that we're gonna meet and be spiritual daughter again, not the Mormon way, but like I believe that somehow in the very very far end of the whatever like future, like new heaven, new earth, like I believe that I'm gonna see my dad again. Like I just believe so. Like people can talk crap and be like, no, no, like whatever. Like I don't believe so. Like I feel like my dad's still with me. Like it's really weird. Like sometimes I was like, because a lot of people in my country they would say like, oh, after a person die, like you like their loved ones will receive dreams of of uh of the past loved one, but I never received dream. And I prayed to God. And just like 2 weeks ago, I just dreamt of my whole family were hiking. And I in my dream, I didn't my dad was not passed yet. Like I forgot that my dad already passed. But I just received a dream after I prayed, and I was hiking with my dad, and my dad was normal, was very normal. It wasn't a brain cancer, like brain cancer infested, like the one that was paralyzing on the bed that I saw in his hospice. But it was a
Mhm.
normal dad. Yeah. So
Well,
yeah.
one thing that I do find completely more logical than a God theory would be an afterlife theory. I don't think that you need a God for an afterlife. Me as an atheist, as a naturalist, I don't think that there is one. But that's just like my opinion, dude. I think that you could totally have an afterlife experience, especially like given some physics with like a multiverse diagram. I guess I'm not finding the right word that I want, but like, if you get into string theory and you start getting into multiverse theory, I think that, who knows, first law of thermodynamics, and energy cannot be created nor destroyed. So who knows if we do have some dualistic essence to us. I'm not a dualist. I don't believe that. But again, my opinion, if we do have some dualistic essence to us, who's to say that essence doesn't go on to the next plane of existence? And I personally, while I don't think that the idea is something that I believe in, I would love to see my mother again. I would love to see my grandma and my grandpa, and I've lost two cousins in the Iraqi war. People that I never got to say goodbye to. I would love to have a chance to see them again. So I visions of the afterlife I usually don't take, or belief in the afterlife I usually don't take much issue in, outside of like the hell and purgatory aspects of an afterlife, eternal damnation. That's usually what I take issue in. I actually find the possibility of life, of an afterlife, to be far more possible than I find God to be. And, I haven't seen the chat much, but I just kind of happened to look over. Rage used to despise philosophy. I am getting a little better, I think, when it comes to the philosophy. I've been reading nonstop. Like I said, I would. I'm learning. I'm learning.
But you know what, Rage? When I saw my dad was dying, like I felt like my spiritual eyes, like I felt like my the way I saw it was like I felt like God was taking his breath away. Like I felt like, yeah, he was skinnier, he was thinner, but because he got brain cancer, so he was like, I felt like God was so good to my dad because I felt like my dad's endurance in pain wasn't really high. So I felt like had he got some freaking lung cancer, had he got some freaking skin cancer, he wouldn't be able to, because brain cancer didn't pain you. Brain cancer was rotting your brain, eating up your brain, but it didn't pain you. Brain cancer doesn't pain you. So I saw God's mercy on my dad because I know my dad's endurance in pain wasn't high, and so I saw that he became skinnier and skinnier. I can feel like he's just like, it almost felt like his time is up because his brother also died at about in his early 60. And so I feel like, in a way, I feel like maybe it's God's perfect will for he and maybe his siblings' life, which was to have to die during this time. But like and especially when, because I was the only person that saw my dad's last breath. I was streaming with praise at the time in the room. I was even speaking to one of the guy in the community at the time. It was texting, and freaking 6 a.m. I believe I was texting at 5:57 a.m. and freaking 6 a.m. Because I was lowering my head and I was playing. I was texting, and I just looked at my dad, and I saw him like looking at the window, which was behind me, and he was like, and then I was like, and then so I went, so I put my hands on my dad's temple. I said, I plead the blood of Jesus over you, and literally his last breath, and then he just gone, and then I just saw how like I was with him when he was gone, and like, well, I mean, of course, like I did not see angels, I did not see anything, but I just feel, because I saw his last breath, I feel it as if like he was like breathing out the last breath, like literally like God took his breath, and then and then and then I don't know, like everything, like it came up as very spiritual to me, because it was like somebody took his breath away, instead of, yeah, I mean, of course he died because of brain cancer, because brain tumor freaking pressing on everywhere in his brain, but I don't know, Rach, like I really hope that you are, somehow today's talk can inspire you to go back to believe in a God, or at least be a theist again, even though you can have doubts in your heart, but like, like
No,
where's
I definitely appreciate the sentiment. I definitely appreciate the sentiment. I'm pretty stubborn. For me, it would really take an intervening from whatever God it would be. Now, I think personally, if a God is proven to exist, then logically speaking, there wouldn't just be one of them. I think if I ever were to come to God belief again, it would definitely be polytheistic. If I'm going to accept one God, I'm going to have to accept the premise that all gods could exist. I think there are some polytheist, like Ali was like that. Ali, she was a Hellenistic polytheist, but she believed Yahweh existed. She's a former co-host, but she just thought Yahweh was kind of an asshole. And I never dismissed the possibility. I think that you're definitely very genuine in your beliefs, and you believe everything wholeheartedly. But I also think that we're kind of wired to stubbornly hold on to our beliefs, right? So, I don't think that I would ever convince you that your God doesn't exist. It's not really something that I try to do. Again, I just try to. I really have a yearning to try to understand people. But yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath thinking that I'll believe in a God anytime soon. It would definitely take a direct intervening from that God, an intentional act of that God to prove to me its existence. Because as I said, I don't think that the supernatural could ever be proven or disproven. We just don't. We don't have the technology for that.
do you think it has become your passion to spread atheism?
No, it's my passion to normalize atheism. So, and by that, I just mean we exist. Our rights matter. Our equality matter. We should have input in the government. We should have a freedom away from religion. We should have a freedom to express ourselves without religious people getting upset about us just being who we are. So, I'm very passionate about the normalizing of atheism. But I could really care less if I ever turn somebody into an atheist.
Okay, cool. Excuse me. Yeah. Well, yeah. Well, a lot of people in Asia are not religious at all. I'm really like out of the box. I'm really honestly, I'm really not a typical Taiwanese woman. Like most Taiwanese, firstly, isn't Christian. Secondly, even if they're Christian, even if she's a Christian, he's a Christian, a lot of them tend to be churchianity doing, and tend to stick to whatever their organization says. And yeah, and so, but okay, cool. Yeah, you want to normalize atheism, but honestly, like atheism is normal in Asia. Like I feel like you
Yeah.
would.
It isn't. It's definitely different. I think it's a lot more normalized over in like the UK. Every British person I say like, yeah, religion isn't a big deal here. Here in America, religion is a huge deal. We have a church on every street. or every corner, I guess. I mean, it used to be a gun store on every corner. Now we have churches on every corner. We have deep-rooted evangelical movements here in America.
That's why I love the USA. USA rocks.
The most recent statistics I'm seeing is 50% of the country of America believe that this earth is 6,000 years old. They believe that dinosaurs and man lived together. Religion is a dynamic in America that is somewhat out of control.
Living together with human beings, dinosaur can can just eat up everybody. I don't believe dinosaurs coexist with human beings.
Yeah, and there's no way possible that they did, because they lived so long ago. But by the YEC model, going by just like the dates in the Bible.
Do you think Nephilim could be dinosaurs?
No, I think
anyway. So
I think Nephilim are like a byproduct of a lot of different other mythological stories at the time. If you go to your Greeks, they had their stories of giant cyclops, Medusas. Every culture had their mythologies. Egypt, which I think Judaism derived a lot of its mythology from, definitely would have had some stories of some supernatural creatures like this. No, like my interpretation from the Nephilim of the Bible is that God's angels came down and raped human women, and pretty much the Nephilim were the result of that, which depending on how you interpret it, it could either mean that they're these giant monstrosities of creatures, or
wiped out, right?
Hmm?
According to the Bible, they were already wiped out, right? There's no Nephilim left in the.
It depends on the Christian you ask. I think that there is some references to them after the flood. Which leads to an atheist asking naturally, if God's intention of the flood was to get rid of the Nephilim, why didn't he? So it's it really depends on the Christian or the historian or the theologian that you're talking to, how they've interpreted, because it really doesn't give us much about the Nephilim. You get like 2 sentences in Genesis, and then maybe a vague reference later. But you don't get much about them. It's purely purely something put there that you have to use your imagination to put a figure to it.
Honestly, just my honest opinion, I feel like I really hate some Christian talking about Nephilim are still here, or like, oh, there's demon children, or serpent seeds.
I get told that. Like I'm some Christians think that the devil's right behind me. He's working me like a puppet, right? Like I literally get told that.
Seriously? I feel
all the time.
I hate Christians talking about the rapture talk, how like we're gonna get snatched out of the sky like by 2030. I was just like, these type of doctrines are why people are not coming into Christianity, because you are making people off by making things sounding like it's very creepy. And I honestly, I don't believe, I don't believe the rapture will happen when I'm still here. And I don't believe the rapture means like we're snatched out of the sky, literally. At one point, I thought it was at one point I thought it could be a dimension change, because New Jerusalem, it could be a dimension change as well, because we're living in a 3-dimensional.
I think honestly, to take these stories seriously, that's kind of what you have to do. You have to be able to modernize it. You have to be able to take what you know about the world and the existence that you live in today in this modern world, and you have to be able to modernize it. You have to, like for me, in order for the Bible to be viable at all, you have to come to the conclusion that it was written by primitive peoples that lived in a different kind of world and in a different kind of culture than we did. So now we've got to somehow try to take these words, apply them to our modern world, and that means you're going to have to get rid of those old bigotries and hatreds and otherisms, like gay people need to die, blah blah blah. No, you need to apply this to you. Yeah, as you're saying, like the rapture might just mean going to that next plane of existence automatically. It doesn't have to mean, like some Christians believe, because they read the Bible, that you're going to fly up into outer space and meet Jesus. We know that that's not how it's going to happen. And yeah, I think that it's really important for Christianity to maybe to keep having those reformations, to be able to modernize themselves as we move forward. Because if not, then you slip into those dogmatic areas, to where then you become an impeder of progress, which becomes an issue for society as opposed to something that's helping society.
And a lot of Christian people, they actually seek attention by making such like rapture dream video. And I was just like, because I feel like, in by doing that, you can really influence some baby Christians on the internet and believe into your dream, your narratives that are, because everybody can get dreams. I can, being a Christian doesn't mean you're Jesus crazy and cuckoo in the head. Being a Christian can mean that you want to follow God, you want to follow Jesus, be a good person by following Jesus' example. I see those Jesus crazy Christians that are getting psychologically sick because they are turning people's focus away from Jesus Christ, and just by just like focusing on the rapture doctrine. And I feel like they're actually warping the gist of the gospel, of the point of evangelizing, by making people focus on really strange events in the Bible, which could happen by what way, in what fashion, we are not able to understand or know. But the point is not how God would rapture you. The point is how you're supposed to follow Jesus and be a better person, and learn the appropriate boundary between good and evil, and know about spiritual warfare, know about prayers, know about deliverance, know about the fasting. And I feel like that, like, and doctrines. Of course, you have to understand certain biblical theological, like, for example, the Trinity. Of course, you have to understand the importance of understanding embracing the triune God. But honestly, I feel like a lot of Christians these days, they're focusing on the wrong thing, and they can influence other baby Christians or people that are weak in their faith to be influenced badly, and to yeah.
I definitely noticed that. I say, and I completely mean it when I say that, I don't really care if I convert people to atheism or if I lead people away from Christianity. I hope that I plant the seeds to lead them away from hatreds and bigotries. But I honestly think a lot of atheists are like that. I think a lot of atheists are about normalizing atheism and not so much converting people. I think that you do have some who genuinely do go out and try to just bring religious people out of their religion. That's never been my intention. But I do observe that on the Christian side. I'm not going to name names or point fingers at anybody with this statement, but I do see, very strong-minded Christian influencers, small and bigger channels that will kind of point the finger at these maybe baby Christians, as you call them, or even just weaker minded people, and say, all right, now I'm the new standard, you need to follow this way, my way's the highway. And I think you end up getting a lot of followers instead of leaders at that point. But I definitely kind of observe what you're talking about.
Yeah. And so, if there are anyone that is watching that is interested in Christianity, but yet you are still agnostic, or somehow you are still like you still are like you're an atheist, I encourage you to start reading if you're interested, reading the New Testament from the 4 Gospels, because these Gospels really are what makes Christianity complete. And these Gospels really are the gist of Christianity.
Well, I've read the Bible personally 9 times. I know people, some of the Christians in the side chat might start balking at that, but it's just the truth. I haven't read the New Testament in quite a while, so I am starting to read it again. I am going to do a chapter by chapter, make videos on it. But when it comes to the New Testament, the very first a chapter of the New Testament is this genealogy of the descendants from, I believe it's Abraham. It might be Noah, but I believe it's Abraham all the way to Jesus. And the contributor in that bloodline, according to this genealogy, would have been Joseph, the father of Jesus. But if you're a Christian and you subscribe to the Immaculate Conception, you think Jesus is the Son of God. Well, this would go directly against that, because Joseph had nothing to do with the birth of Jesus. His bloodline isn't present in Mary when she conceived Jesus.
Sounds like you're familiarized with the Holy Scripture. Do you teach your daughter about the Holy Bible?
I haven't read it with her. I don't think she's read much of the Bible outside of what she gets when she does go to church. And she does still go to church every once in a while with her mom. She was going every Sunday with my mom when my mom was alive. But she usually gets every other Sunday, I think, with her mom. Maybe sometimes it's a 3 or 4 week period in between, depending on what her mom's got going on. But she definitely still gets the church experience. I've always said, I know atheists that raise their children to be atheists, and their children are good. I just chose not to kind of fight that battle with my mom at the time. I allowed I want my daughter to be who she is without any direct influence from me. I do plan on having a conversation when she's 14, 15 years old, and really, expressing what I am, what I believe, why I don't believe in these things, and hopefully, maybe plant the seeds for her to have some critical thinking. But ultimately, what she decides for her life is going to be her decision, not mine.
Yeah, this is the difference between American parents and Asian parents. I feel like Asian parents sometimes really want to control the narrative of their children's life, even when their children are into their adulthoods, and but like this is off topic again, but like I feel like a lot of like I'm just curious from a foreigner's perspective. I feel like a lot of American parents, after their children turn adult, wouldn't intervene their decisions, even if they're sabotaging themselves, such as even doing drugs or whatever. I feel like I've never seen, like, at least from my personal friend, I've never heard anybody's mom step in and say, "Hey, stop doing this," or whatever. Do you think it's really an American thing to let people make their own decision in their adulthood and not intervene?
Well, no, I mean, honestly, to me, that would just be bad parenting. If
But I'm
somebody's
talking about
addicted to a hard drug, I think the best parents are the ones that definitely intervene, and do everything they can to get help for the people that they love. I think that they're and I think I think that does happen. I think most parents are pretty good parents. Again, like my dad came down hard on me, and eventually, when after the rehabs failed and I was sitting in jail, my dad took that hardline stance. Didn't bail me out, let me sit in that county jail for 6 months waiting on my trial, to think about it. And honestly, that was love. That was him doing the hard thing there, because naturally, I know my dad, he wanted to get me out of there. He didn't want me to be in there, but he wanted me to learn that life lesson. And I think that had he just bailed me out, had I just experienced, had he went out and got the best lawyer for me like he could have, had he bailed me out, had I not experienced the experience as I experienced it, I'd be a completely different person today. And so I think that most parents are good parents, and I think that they do care, and would step in those situations. What really concerns me is when teenage children, young adults are coming and being honest with their parents, and those parents allow their religion to kind of dictate how they're now going to judge their children. For instance, a gay person coming out to their deeply religious parents, and those parents shunning them, kicking them out of their home, making them homeless. That happens a lot in this country, and I think that's a huge issue. But outside of that, I think most parents are just naturally. I think evolution makes us naturally good parents because that's how we propagate the species.
Also, you believe in evolution.
I'm one of those. I definitely believe in evolution.
So you believe we're evolved from monkeys, apes?
I think that's and originally where where we started. We have plenty of evidence behind that. Again, I'm not very scientific minded. There's plenty of people that can argue that a lot better than I got to answer this real quick. Sorry, it's my daughter outside playing with her friends and calling me. I kind of lost track of thought. Uh, so yeah, it kind of refreshed me what we were talking about.
Uh, oh no, it's fine. So do you still need to go do the like praise stream?
Okay, yeah, I do. Like, I said I was going to end it at 3. We're over. We're 3 hours and 20 minutes. So yeah, I do want to end this. Unfortunately, as somebody was commenting, like we could go at this for hours, and I really feel like I could sit here and talk to you for just the rest of the day, and the entire day would pass without me like eating or doing anything, because I could sit here and talk to you forever.
But you know what? Most people say, "Oh, you're asking so many questions. Stop, man." Like most Americans, like some American guys in Taiwan I met, like Canadian guy, like my previous colleague, he would be like dicking and he would just be a dick and he would be like, "Stop asking so many questions. Like you're like endless curious. Like stop this." Like I feel like those like Canadians or Americans I met in Taiwan were all like white trash. like
I know plenty of white trash. Trust me. I live here in Michigan, and we have some very interesting folks walking around. They got their AK, or I always say AKs, but they're AR-15s, and they're fully decked out in their body armor, and they think that they're in the military, but they definitely eat more donuts than I. you know, spitting tobacco. I definitely. So that's it's honestly one of the greatest things about America I've found. It's one of the things I truly appreciate about the country, and it wouldn't make it hard to leave, because I'm not sure if the rest of the world has the diversity that we have here. Like I can literally walk down the street here in my town and run across almost every kind of person imaginable, like that redneck, gun nut that I was just talking about, to a scholar, to a Scientologist, to a Muslim, like there's so much diversity here. I think I would definitely miss that.
I think it's pretty cool how you because a lot of guys, when I speak to them, they would, whenever I interrupt, they would stop and make me chime in, but you would just finish the whole sentences without allowing me to interrupt you.
That's just me. I'm experienced at this now. When I first started, oh man, it was a different story, and sometimes I do try to I will stop and allow you or another person, but if I'm like if I'm into my point. I know that if I don't finish it, there's a good chance I'm going to forget it, because I'm smoking weed through these entire things.
Dude, do you think smoking weed will make a person more like hyper and manic?
I think it affects people differently. For me, it kind of motivates me. see, I think I have this like hyper focus anyway, and what it does for me is it kind of hyper focuses the hyper focus. For other people, I've seen it affect them to where they have panic attacks. I see one of my cousins smoked weed a good 10 years of her life. And then one time she smoked a joint and she had a panic attack and never touched it again. Some people, I think it really acts as a downer in them. I think it just, you know, humans are weird. We all have our different biologies, and things affects us differently. You know, like, you know, I don't understand people that get hooked on crack cocaine. I tried it once. It was like, please give me a good joint, because this isn't doing anything to me, you know, like like I don't see how people become addicted to it. But there's a lot of people out there that do, that love it, and they waste their whole lives on it. I just think that people react to things differently.
Is cocaine and heroin the same thing?
No, cocaine is a stimulant. Heroin would be I'm not. What would the? It's definitely an opiate. Probably sedative, hypnotic, very powerful. I guess downer, where cocaine would be a stimulant.
In Burma would smoke opium,
Yeah,
or yeah.
that I think smoking opium is probably dominant in that area. Although it happens here, it's probably a lot harder to get here because we don't grow it here. Because it comes from the poppy seed plant, or the poppy plant, something like that. We definitely get a lot of it here, though. Our whole war on drugs, how we put most of a good chunk of our citizenry in prison is based on the war on drugs.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you something, but then I was stupid and I said something else, so I forgot. I was really gonna ask you something really important.
Well, that's all right. You have a few minutes. I'm going to end it at 3:30, I think, and then we're definitely going to have to do this again, because I enjoy the conversation. I think I feel like we're just kind of scratching the surface. So I definitely want to have another one.
I feel like people like me. Wait. I was really gonna ask you something, but but anyway, I feel like people like me um would be really like. Do you get the impression that I overthink too much or something? Like, do you do you, do you like over the past few hours of conversation? Do you pick do you feel that I might be overthinking a lot?
No, I think that you believe what you believe, and I think that you're passionate about it. Um, I mean, maybe, but I think, you know, I think intellectuals overthink. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. So if I haven't noticed anything that would be like I would consider, you know, like a fault. I wouldn't say anything faulty. I think that you enjoy and you have passion for this type of conversation. I think that clearly comes out, but definitely not a bad thing.
Yeah, but uh because I feel like like I feel like I want to be a Christian. Wait, um so what I want to say is I feel like a lot of people associate being Americanized as being a Christian, being this nice white, well, not, well, like, sorry, deducting the white part, but I'm saying like a lot of people associate being Christian as being Americanized. What do you think
Hmm.
about that?
Um, uh, Definitely here in the States, I would say without a doubt, it's really hard to conceive. It's hard for me sometimes to understand um, people that do come from overseas, and it's religion is different to them, because I don't think it like it doesn't affect society as much, I guess, anymore over there, to like it does here. But I do think that there's become like, we have propped ourselves up as using American exceptionalism as if we're some standard that the rest of the world should look at. And I think a lot of places have kind of sucked into that, and then they do I don't know, like either glamorize or demonize America to a certain level that they don't with the rest of the world. And I think that a lot of times that leads to resentment. I think that if you look at somebody like Osama bin Laden, his great struggle was, well, if America is this great thing, they didn't fulfill their promises that they made to me and other people in the area. They allowed Russia to come into Afghanistan. All of these things, they didn't help modernize the area that it's like this double-edged sword. So you end up radicalizing people based on this American exceptionalism that just really is a crock of shit. America, we're just now getting our feet under us and trying to do the right thing for the first time in our history. So this whole idea to me of American exceptionalism is just the way that we've propagated ourselves to the rest of the world to set ourselves above the rest of the world.
You know what? I feel like the biggest cultural difference between America and Taiwan is that I feel like a lot of westernized people have the concept of like the benefit of the doubt and stuff, but in Asia people don't give the benefit of the doubt. Like I feel like people would just decide what they're gonna act according to whatever they perceive. This is my biggest observation. I feel like it's cool how you guys are always giving other people the benefit of the doubt. Like I feel like this concept in Asia just doesn't exist. I feel like, you know what? Like my previous boss, she did not give me the benefit of the doubt, and like I don't know. Like I'm sorry. Am I getting off? Am I getting off topic again?
Well, no. I don't know. I think that it's easy to look at America from afar and kind of see things that might not be. I don't think that people here give much benefit. I don't. I get accused of it all the time. I put John Maddox in the same box that I put Smokey Saint. Not giving John Maddox any benefit of the doubt whatsoever. I'm just like, oh, you're with Smokey now. I did the same thing with Kat because she hangs around with Will Kincaid, and Kat participated in that shit. So whatever. But
Do you feel?
it's just I don't think that we really like here. We have crony capitalism. Capitalism is running rampant. So maybe if you're in a certain class, then people will give you the benefit of the doubt, especially the law here. But I just don't think that we really do. I live in Michigan. It's an at-will state. An employer can fire you for anything. There's nothing you can do about it. Your hands are tied. If they decide they don't like you tomorrow, you're gone. It could literally be anything. If they figure out what my tattoo says and they don't like that, I'm gone, and I can do nothing about it. A lot of places here won't even let you unionize. It's crazy.
Asian people don't normally fire you just because you make a stupid mistake or whatever. If you work for a Taiwanese company and you build a good relationship with your boss, and chances are that they're gonna give you they're gonna employ you. As long as you don't make some crazy mistake. Asian people don't normally do that. Asian people really care about connections, and Asian people I feel like that's why like people want to immigrate to the US, and whereas I was just like, no, I don't really want it because I feel like their people are more like the society there is just more like dog eating dog, and like more like I don't know, like I just like Asia better.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely some dog eating dog going on in America, without a doubt. I personally would be like, I wouldn't really recommend anybody to immigrate to America because I think we're on the brink of civil war. And the last place you're going to want to be is America when that pops off. I don't think you're going to want to be here when that goes. I think we're close. I think we get closer every day. I think we're going to see a major civil war in my lifetime. And I honestly, I don't think I have too long left on this planet, a good 20 years, maybe, so not the place I think for future prosperity. Speaking about moving to overseas, like that's something that I've considered. Like when my daughter is old enough, just given the political dynamics of this country, just how divided we are politically here, I want nothing to do with. I don't want her to be here when it does like ignite.
Dude.
But I do have to, like, we have been going for 3.5 hours, and I do have to prep a little bit before my praise conversation tonight. So I've really got to cut this off, and I don't want to because I could talk to you forever. But this has been a great conversation. I really appreciate you coming on and having this conversation with me.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much for having me. And I know that I can be a babbler, but then thanks. Like,
I'm used. People often ask me how I put up with CJ's long-winded. I don't think that you're nowhere near as bad as CJ. I enjoy the back and forth, and I want to actually hear what you have to say. So I want to hear the whole points. And no, I don't think that you're long-winded much at all.
Okay.
CJ is a bit at times, but even I can work with him.
Sorry, but before you end the stream, do you feel privileged as a white man?
Oh yeah, definitely. Definitely. I've spoken on that several times. I think that there's definitely some systemic racism here. I think it's probably a lot harder for a dark-skinned individual to get a job with felonies, as opposed I've had a pretty easy time of it my entire life. I've never had an issue getting a job. I never lie about my felonies, and I never have an issue about getting a job. So yeah, I definitely think that I have privilege. I think, not just being a white man, but I'm a 6'4". Now I'm down to 280. But usually at my healthy weight, I'm sitting at about 235 pounds. I'm a very big person. I think that grants me privilege. I think I can walk through life and not have to worry about things that a lot of other people have to worry about, just because the nature that I'm bigger than most people, right? Like I don't. It's easy for me to say I don't need a gun because I'm not too worried about most human beings. And if they shoot me first, they're going to shoot me first anyway. But if I can get my hands on them, I'm going to have a lot easier chance than a lot of other people to take care of that situation. So I don't have fears that other people have.
You cannot go through doors that are shorter than you.
I have to slump sometimes. Yeah. At my work, going into our dish tank, we have because I'm 6'4", we had this wall that comes down. It's cement going into the dish tank. It's 6'4" off of the ground as is. So if I don't duck slightly, I graze the top of my head, and it is the most painful thing I have ever felt in my life. And I do it every once in a while. I forget to duck my head a little bit. And man, it sucks. Yeah. I think it's why I've got this dominant bald spot on the very top of my head, is because I keep hitting that thing and it's rubbed all my hair off.
Yeah, you should take off your cap.
Oh, I usually do sometimes, but yeah. See, right up there, I got that dominant spot. I think that's from hitting my head on that damn cement.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and everybody asked me to reach the high shit. It's like, damn it, I got to do everything. Cool. But yeah, this was a great conversation.
Thank you so much.
Yes, Rage is a Nephilim. Thank you guys in the chat for watching. I thought this was a really fun conversation. I definitely want to have another one-on-one, and I've got your email. And if I'm going to have a room, if you'd be interested in coming into a room and talking with other atheists and other theists, I definitely invite you to some of those as well.
Cool.
Sweet.
Thank you so much for having me. Nice.
Yep. Thank you so much. Thank you, chat. 2.5 hours. I'm going to be talking to Praise as long as Praise shows, and I think that he will. Interesting conversation coming. Thank you for joining me for a long one. I doubt Praise will go 3.5 hours. I doubt we'll be able to go 3.5 hours together, but we'll see.
Yeah, you gotta really interrupt me next time, because I'm really into small talks. So yeah,
I don't mind the small talk at all. I really don't. It's really the only way to get to know a person. If you're talking straight theology, then I'm not really getting to know you. I'm only getting to know your theology. So I don't mind the small talk. But all right, we are going to get out of here. Thank you guys for joining, and then yeah, join me again at 6 p.m. Eastern when I'm talking to Praise. By then, I will have finalized my Patreon end screen for these streams. So not this time. So be the conversation. I'll see you soon.